What's going on, guys? Thanks for clicking on this video. By the title you can already see what it's about. It's with my buddies Nick Rose and Austin Levin. This was a super fun episode to shoot. I honestly learned a lot from it. We talked about, mindset, the 48 laws of power, and books we read also, and we kind of dove into our stories a little bit as well. Nick and Austin are really interesting dudes, and they have a lot to say, and we really bounced off each other this episode, and this is like kind of the reason why we even do a podcast in the first place. There's so much you can learn from this one. Super fun to make. Hope you guys sit back and enjoy it. And if you have to, check back in every few, take it in bits if you need to. It's 2 hours long, but you learn from every single minute of it, honestly. Like when I was going back editing it, you just learned a lot from it, for sure. I also want to mention a few things. I'm putting out a song tomorrow called Free, the acoustic version of it. You might have seen I put one out a while back. I just made the acoustic version of it, and we're putting that out tomorrow, which is super exciting. My buddy Tyler Kingsley, he shot a little video for it too, so be on the lookout for that as well. Another thing, we're on the road to 800 subs on YouTube, which is super exciting. It sounds like a small number, but we've been growing a lot recently, and your support means the world. And your feedback, your reaching out and everything like that, it means the world to me and to Nick as well. We're just trying to grow this brand every single day, expanding our horizons. We're doing things like going to Kensington, filming there. We have some videos coming out for that as well. Just really trying to encourage the conversation, collaborate with as many good people as we can. If you guys want to support the podcast, the clothing line, if you guys want to check that out, your support means the world to us. So like I said, if you guys want to show your support, it means the world to me. It helps out more than with equipment and being able to, go to places in the future. When fly out, do podcasts in the future and stuff. We're trying to really encourage the conversation and change the way we look at mental health and stuff like that, little by little every day. So like I said, your support means the world, and you guys are the best. Also, if you guys want to try to be on the podcast, you can reach out to me directly. If you have a story you want to tell, you can scroll all the way down to Fall Forward Media Shop and go to the little, there's a little section that you can send a form and send a little message in. But yeah, like I said, we're almost up to episode 20 already, which is kind of crazy, considering how quick recently we started. But yeah, like I said, your support means the world. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Peace. Alright, so good, cameras are good. Alright, cool. Alright, well, welcome back to the Loft, episode 18. I'm with my boys Nick Rose and Austin Levin. It's been a minute, bro. It's been a minute.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we have the 2 cameras. We got the 4 people today. It's our first time with 4 people, so I think it'll be
I'm
real.
back like I left something.
He's back. Yeah, Nick's back. It's
again.
been a few weeks, but yeah, dude. I mean, dude, it's good to have you guys on, man.
Dude, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, I put out the reason why this even happened is I put out an Instagram post. I'm like, I want to get more people on, and like people with stories and stuff. And you reached out, and you're like, yo, I'd love to come on. You're like, I don't really have much of a story, but I'm like, bro, I'm like, yeah, come on. I'm like, I wanted to have you on because I noticed on Facebook, like I said earlier, I noticed your Facebook stuff, and you just post you kind of the same lane as us a little bit, and you started your own podcast. We can get into that. I know you have that going and everything like that, but yeah, I just wanted to have you on and just kind of talk, and having Austin too.
And I'm the big tag along.
A big surprise,
big
dude.
Big surprise. It was
awesome.
Breaking news.
We haven't been together since Austin's backyard. I mean, over 12 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah,
so we used to hang out with he was really good friends with Tony Carr and Josh Sharkey and them. So at Abington and stuff, playing on the basketball team. But yeah, those are the days, man.
Yeah, Renegade days.
Couldn't jump 2 feet off the ground, but I got my minutes.
All 3 of you would hang out back in the day.
Yeah. So Kevin and I know each other because we used to play Renegades basketball together. So grew up together, good family friends. Yeah. Trish and Mike, great people. So I had to give a little shout out right there.
Yeah, it's great to see them again.
Miss Hales, but yeah, obviously Nick and I grew up together. We're best family friends. We literally planned to be born together. Literally. So just
anybody that's come into Austin's life over the years has been part of my life, which is very fortunate. Obviously, very fortunate, and he's one of them. So
did we meet on the cruise? Was that do you think that was the first time? I might have been.
Oh man,
it could have been. I don't know. Nick was always around.
I don't know, man.
He would get drugged into Renegades to Kelly Ballas gym for some
we were
practices.
You didn't play, right?
What's that?
Did you play?
No, I mean I played local ball. I played in my area, but never Renegades. I was more of a soccer player growing up. So that was more of where my like travel time was into club.
I know Nick looks all shredded now, Mr. Good Looking, but he used to, you know.
Yeah, I used to be a little pudgy back in the day.
He's Mr. Suave now. Yeah. He makes me look bad.
Renegades team was tough though, man.
Yeah,
that was
the real deal.
You guys were nice.
Yeah, you had some players.
On that team,
you were there from the. You were like he was like one of the OGs. Like,
I remember you from the team. Like you look very familiar.
Yeah. But yeah, dude. So I wanted to have like just a little discourse, a little chop it up a little bit, have a conversation, and like talk about stuff that we think needs to be talked about more, like like mindset and stuff like that, and dive in a little bit about like what you're doing, what your work, and you too, with the family business and stuff, and kind of talk about that stuff because like me and him, like he's a reader, he reads all the time.
Respect.
And so I've been starting to read now. I started reading the 48 Laws of Power, and that's like one of my favorite books ever, dude. I'm only on like lesson 7, but
Robert Greene is
you're already loving it.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, you read it?
Yeah, I've read that. I've read. He also has the Laws of Human Nature. I just wrapped that up as well. Yeah. And then he has a colleague that used to be his research assistant. His name's Ryan Holiday, and he has like The Ego is the Enemy, Stillness is a Key. It's like great, incredible books. But you could do a deep dive in that whole world.
Reading is key, man. Right? How important do you think that is?
I think what's more important is knowing how you consume information. You know what I mean? Because like my whole life I've never read a book, right? So it was like in the summer readings and shit like that, I was like, Spark Notes, watch the movie Aquila is the Bee. You know what I mean? You watch the movie, you jump in, the day before
pay
the first
your friend
day.
like $5
because it was always like a task.
100%.
In school they kind of made it and you were like, I'd rather play
I want to hang out with my friends.
Right.
It was you also were never choosing what you were like interested in reading.
Exactly.
It was being forced on you to like learn like proper English.
So
you were never.
I think once I actually learned how like my method to actually consume the information, not sit there and be like, oh, I gotta check my phone, or what good looking girl just posted on Instagram, you know what I mean, stuff like that, and I could actually sit here and be like, I want to know this. Once I got that figured out, sky's the limit. I mean, those books have what you need. And it's like when people say, oh, I can't read, it's like, dude, I didn't read my first book till last summer. I started with Principles by Ray Dalio, which is like 600 plus pages, and now I'm at like 35 books this past year. It's just like
insane,
nonstop.
So one of my best friends I grew up with, Brendan Horan, that you know too.
Yeah, played for Ryan.
I remember Brendan.
He was on the Renegades at one point, I think.
I remember Brendan.
But he's the one who really got me into reading it was only a few years ago, but whenever I'd go over his house, he had a bookshelf and it was just filled with these books, like these deep. He'd be reading like philosophy and crazy stuff, and I'd just be like, dude, I never thought about it.
Yeah.
And he would just start talking to me about all these things he was learning through them, because that's the biggest thing is what you take from it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this day and age we live in now with everything on our phones and stuff, I have a really hard time sometimes. Like I'll be reading and I'm always looking to go grab my phone. Yeah. Like I'm always trying to, 100%. And I have to like recenter myself and be like, all right, just even if it's 10 pages, like that's okay. You know what I mean?
Carve time in and out.
But he kind of got me into all these books, and then I read 48 Laws of Power, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to keep going with this, because it was just so, I remember the impact it had on me at the time.
Yeah.
You know? Especially when you take notes on it too. Like I'll literally I recently been sitting by the river and just like I'll read the book, take notes, jot notes down, and the shit's just it hits you so different, you know. When especially when you're reading and you're just like taking notes on it, and it's like you said, like something you actually want to do, and something you want to read. Yeah. But it's just.
How about you? You into it at all?
I am honestly not a reader.
I send him pages every day though.
He sends me pages. It's I don't know if it's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
I get wrapped up in the work that I do throughout the day, and it's something that my girlfriend has pushed me to work on a lot more to like find that balance. I work throughout the day. I turn my brain off and I just do mindless things the rest of the day. And it's not. It doesn't help you build yourself. I mean, it certainly would be better for me when I read. Yeah. My brain just like doesn't attach to the words. Right. It's just not me. It's just not where I find. I'd rather turn on the news. I'd rather listen to a podcast. I'd rather it's just not me. I mean, I'm trying, but it's just not.
They got audiobooks.
There's also so many new forms of knowledge. I feel like you can watch a 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast and gain just as much knowledge from that.
I used to joke in college all the time and say like I went to Penn State and then I would leave class and I really went to like YouTube University. Like almost everything I've done that's made me a better person has been like hours. And we could talk about like what started with like printing shirts. I would be printing shirts in the garage for like 14 hours straight, and it's just like all I was doing is like listening to Tony Robbins, and then you learn about Alan Watts, and you learn about all these different people about spirituality and philosophy, and it's just, you go a deep dive. And it's funny, you said something too, it was about like what you take from the book. Yeah. And one of the things I started realizing when I started to learn things, have conversations with people, read stuff, it's like, I put stuff out, like what you see on Facebook, and the whole point is to be like, you don't, like, I'll do the reading for you, you know, like, because like when you go to talk to people that you associate with and you're authentic, then it's like, I'm going to put this in layman's terms, as in like, if we're drinking or we're hanging out and we're kicking it, and I'm going to explain it, right? So like in a recent post, like I'll just straight up cut like how I've been like flawed, and then how I've applied these things and how it's worked. So it's like when you can take a standpoint of being like, do this and then it'll give you this return, it's like, that's not a way to do it. It's like, let's be honest about where we've been wrong. It's a plug in the things that we're learning here, and I'm saying, hey, all these pictures you're liking or all these things you're saying congrats on, this is why this is happening. And I'm telling you it right now. Like, so then people message you like 6 months later, like, or they'll see you at a bar and be like, you've been doing so well, bro. Like, can we meet? Like, how's it been going? I'm like, go read everything. Like, you'll see every time I've messed up. You'll see every time I've picked something out of something and worked for me.
You don't realize that the people, they look at that, and it's not that they gravitate towards it, but it gives them a sense of I don't even want to use the word hope, because I think some people it's not even hope. Yeah. It gives them a path, right? Like some people just, they bottle those things up inside. They don't know how to take the next step. Yep. When you're so open about it, you tell people your experience, you share your flaws, you share where you're going. Not everyone gravitates towards the motivational stuff, which you know, right? Some people.
Which is why I stopped being like that a little bit.
Yeah, but some of it's just honest, right? Yeah. But it gives people a clear path, right? It's like, okay, this kid's sharing his experience. Exactly. I don't know what the hell I want to do with my life, but like he's figuring it out. None of us do, you know?
Right? And I think like you get to that point where you like the only way to know that that's the way to connect with people is by like doing the wrong thing, right? It's like by keeping it bottled up. Created all these issues that I read about to then fix. And once I fix them, I'm like, man, if I just did this from the jump, then I wouldn't have been that kid struggling through things quietly and things like that.
This is honestly, I mean, it's a light at the end of the tunnel, like he was just saying. Like it gives you that, or Kev or Nick or Austin, they experienced that. Oh, cool. Maybe I can one day navigate my way. And it's like, I talk to him. We talk about this all the time on here. I don't want anyone to ever think like we're up here acting like we have everything figured out when we do these, because we have we don't know anything. I'm 25.
You guys know something. Give yourself some credit.
I'll give a little bit of credit, but like I figure things out sometimes through doing this, through meeting people like you guys, and it gives me different things I take with it and stuff. You know what I mean? Exactly. We're flawed. You know, we make tons of mistakes.
Yeah, this is honestly super refreshing because you guys think the same exact way as we do. Like, with something that I learned recently and through reading and stuff is like, you got to create some kind of spectacle, right? So it's like you're making your Facebook post, and maybe you're learning how you want to properly format it. You know, maybe you said it's a little too motivational. Maybe edge it this way, that way. Like that's just part of learning. But you know, you're creating somewhat of a spectacle where I just read it, so like, you know, I'm gonna regurgitate. Like it's like that's why I love like that book so much. Like 40 Laws of Power. Like, so you create a spectacle. People are gonna talk about it. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. People are talking about it, because if they're not talking about it, it doesn't matter, right? So like the same thing with like a podcast episode you don't put out, or if it's not out, it doesn't mean anything, right? So it's like something I learned yesterday, because I've been volunteering in Kennington recently, and it's something that truly changed my life, bro. Like just like in terms of like seeing that shit, right? So we went out yesterday with my little cousins, and I was like, yo, can we all get together? We'll go get food for the people in Kennington, and then we'll make bags and stuff for them. That's what the trash bags were down there. It's all, you know. So it was like
your mom had to remind us it wasn't actually trash.
It's like every mom says the same thing. Oh my God,
no trash here. Trash. I know. Come on.
Yeah. So it's like, and that's other thing what we're doing too, is like we're to get more into that stuff too, because it's like it's tangible. It's what people like need and stuff. So we're in Sam's Club. And it's literally like me, my aunt, and like 10 little kids, like marching in Sam's Club with 2 carts. And my sister's filming it, right? Like she's my videographer for that trip. So it was like, so we were in there, and people were like looking at us, because like it was just like a girl with a camera and 10 kids. We look like a YouTube family channel or some shit, right? So it's like, but the point is that like I had the manager come up to me and say, hey, listen, I'm willing, if you want to fill out a form, we'll give you a grant, we'll give you money, we'll donate. Awesome. Wow. And then like, you know, we had one of the random workers like, yeah, dude, we throw out all these like extra pastries every day. We could donate that. I'm like, you could. So I talked to the manager, and then I had the girl who checks the tickets or the receipts at the front. she was asking what it was about. I'm like, oh, it's a nonprofit, the Grace Project. That's where I go to help out. And she's like, oh, it's really cool. And like got a number and she wants to like learn more about it and stuff. So it's like you give people, like you said, a path, right? So it's like people are going to take it. You know what I mean?
That's part of what he said. Gravitate toward it.
Yeah. And
people gravitate toward positivity. They really do. Just sitting here with you guys right now. Yeah. Like I wanted to ask you two both also the importance you think of who you surround yourself with.
Oh my God.
That's everything, right?
I'll jump in for this one.
Yeah.
So,
Please.
my dad's, I'll give him a shout out. His name's Eric. He's a COO. He says very frequently, we're turkeys or eagles, right? You want people with you're gonna surround yourself with people who are gonna soar, or people who are gonna are not. But he says something even further. He says surround yourself with pigs, not chickens. And I always say like pigs, like that's a pretty negative connotation. I don't want pigs around me. But it's obviously you got to think of it in a different way. So we have a lot of chickens in our life. I believe I have a lot of chickens in my life. I think you guys could, when I explain it, what it means, you'll understand it. You're going to say, I know a lot of chickens. They're people that come in your life, they lay an egg, and then they go off on their own and they run away. They come and give you a small short-term satisfaction. They give you what you need in that moment, but then they're nowhere to be found. They don't really give themselves to you. They're kind of those fair weather friends, and we all have them, right? We all have those fringe friends. Yeah. My life, what I'm trying to do is surround myself with pigs. Those are the people that come to you. They lay on the ground. They're like, look, this is all I got to offer. Like, cut me open, take the bacon, take the ribs, take whatever you need. Like,
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm here. Yeah. It's so easy in life now, especially with social media and things where you can boost your clout. Like, you're posting your DJ stuff all the time, right? It's very easy for people to just gravitate, be like, oh, I want to be around Kev, like, and just try and work off his clout. It's very hard to find people in your life who are really dedicated to you, who love you, who are there. Like, that's the way Nick and I are, right? I don't see Nick all the time. I mean, I have more recently, but I know that Nick's a pig for me. Yeah. Like, he's going to come no matter what. He's not going to lay an egg and run away. He's going to lay on the ground. Like, cut me, cut it. Like here I am for you.
It's 100%. It's not transactional.
Yeah.
No, you have to find those people.
Yeah, I would also say, too, like, the thing about who you surround yourself with, there's a lot of hard decisions to be made, too, because sometimes you got to be straight up and be like, it could be a parent. It could be a sibling. It could be, it could be anybody, like, where you just have to be for real and be like, you know what? The outlook that I'm carrying on my life is predicated on who I surround myself the most with. That could be a different job. That could be a job that's getting paid less. It's like you have to understand how much that energy is correlating into your daily decisions, into your daily disciplines. Yeah. Like, everything you go around is for you. And also, it's like, you got to be around people who are going to cut it to you straight too, right? It's like, so it's like someone with like us, or like the type of people we surround ourselves with, guys like yourselves. It's like, if I'm messing up, they're going to be straight up with me. I think the problem is, and I saw this from time to time in college with like, because I built up my clout with like, I made shirts to say I know Nick Rose on it as like a marketing thing.
I remember that.
Yeah, because I went up to college. I knew one guy up there. I was printing T-shirts in this guy's garage. My first time going after community college. And I was like, well, how can I just know everybody instead of me having to get to know them, right? I was like, I'll go up and give every good-looking girl a shirt with my name on it. And I'll have all these other shirts printed, and then I'll print shirts for fraternities, sororities, and then I'll just go across the board and take over the whole place. And it worked out well, but there was always a blank after, I know Nick Rose blank, right? So my whole point was, what you think is cool does not really have longevity in my eyes, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to make you think I'm so cool. And then actually I'm going to come in with like the type of stuff I post about, the type of different things, or speaking at something. So then I'm going to make you make a decision. Yeah. Do you really think I'm cool? Because this is what it's about. Right. If you think I'm cool, then you invest in the people that you love. If you think I'm cool, you're going to give it your all. You're going to treat every day like it's your last. You're going to say I love you to people and stop the stigma of different stuff, because you don't know when you're not going to see them. All these little things. And I used to test it, right? We talked about with like the laws of human nature. This is human nature, right? It's like even in college, I used to do something where, and a lot of people could attest to it. House full of guys, and I say, new rule. Anytime anyone walks out the door, everyone has to say, I love you. And I got beat up for it, right? I'd be like, love you. I'd be like, guys, say it. Everyone's like, dude, all right, shut up. Like, shut up. By the end of the year, not a person will walk out the door. We could have a pregame with 50 people, and some girl walks out we don't even know. Like that. Everyone goes, love you. And it's like, that's what you build. So if you think I'm cool, this is what it's like. Right. If you, right? It's like, this is and if you don't, then that's fine. This is not for you. But it was always about getting people, especially younger people, when I started doing a podcast or when I started to post different speeches I was given or different things like that, I realized like, yo, a lot of our friends' siblings are growing up. You know, as we grow up, our friends' siblings are growing up. And so I used to go back to my buddy's house and stuff. And then all of a sudden, moms would be like, you know, my son, they all follow you. And they like, they'll talk, oh, Nick does this or Nick does that. Again, not like, I'm not acting like I'm cool.
No, you just.
But it's like, oh, wow. It's like, okay, so if I can speak to those guys, then we can get out in front of this, right? Like, we can make them realize, like, yo, take care of your people. Yeah. This is what it's cool to work hard. You think this is cool when I come back and I'm talking about what I'm doing and what I'm a part of? Yeah. If you think that's cool, this is what it takes.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about, like, you know, being at Patty's too. It's like they're able to see like two sides of me essentially. You know, obviously you have to carry yourself a certain way. You can't be a drunk asshole, but like, you know, they see me like talk about this stuff, and what you said is exactly right. Like, it's like think of Bieber, right? Like how he was the man. 2016, Purpose came out. Like he was on top of the world. And he started to really like get into his faith, right? And he started, in a way, he makes it cool, if that makes sense.
100%.
Like because it's him. Like if you have to,
first gospel album I ever listened to.
Yeah, right.
Like 2 weeks ago when he put that out.
Yeah,
but he's being him.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's truly, you can tell he fully believes that.
It's authentic. Yeah.
And when it's authentic, people will gravitate.
Exactly. And and if you're able to package it well,
that's one of the things Robert Greene in that book. I forget which law it is, but one of the things he talks about is like when we're all born, we have these characteristics that kind of are placed onto us by either your parents or your friends or the people you're hanging around. And one of the biggest tasks in your life is to get out of that, break that mold, and develop into your own character. And really be. That's one of the biggest tasks you're ever going to have in life, because so many things are in your subconscious that like were just instilled in you when you were growing up. And that's the part of my journey right now at 25 years old. I'm trying to like unchain myself from those things,
you're trying to fight
like, free myself from those things and kind of build into my own person. You know what I mean?
It's a balance though, right? So I'm a firm believer in you're a product of your environment. Like you are. The environment that you go home to, whether it's obviously your family being, when you're growing up, the most obvious one, right? The people who set your morals and values, but your community, right? Like your community values are a big difference. I grew up super privileged. Like I say it, I grew up financially privileged. I grew up racially privileged. I grew up with so many privileges in my life because I had a good environment around me. Like good morals and values were around me. They were instilled in me. When I would veer off that path, there was always someone there who would like knock me back in line. I do agree. Like at a certain point in your life, you have to step out of that shadow and you have to just be yourself. But if you go into society now, like I'm sure a lot of the work that you're doing, like if you track those stories of some of the people that you're helping, right? Like, you know, with our business, we have 700 employees in Philadelphia, a lot of whom are, you know, come from a vulnerable population, like didn't have stable education, don't have stable income, don't have stable family support, things like that. You track that path, they maybe didn't have that stable environment. So you're right. They have to fight it, but they also have to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So they have to be incentivized to like find a good supportive environment, whether it's a good work environment, a good family environment. So I'm sure with the work you're doing, and I deal with it every day at work. You know, I run our HR department, right? So I deal with people like every all day who come from just like the widest array of backgrounds, from high level executive to entry level, second chance, like just came out of prison.
Yeah.
You know, super vulnerable, like does not have much of a foundation. Like no matter what, those people who don't have those privileges, they like something has to be that foundation, right? Because then you can do the work, like you're going to do amazing work. You can do the work with people and still they go into an environment when they go home, right? Where it's not the same. So I think for me, right, it's like, you're right, stepping into your own shadow, finding a good environment, but also like creating a good environment for the future, like creating a good environment for my family, making sure my kids have good education, making sure they have like a good, stable home, making sure they're exposed to successful people. Like, I'm very lucky. My dad has been, and my mom have both been very successful in business. They exposed me to like really successful people. So I have that luck. Someone who maybe doesn't have those privileges, how can you expect someone to be as successful? They don't ever get exposed to it. Like I know it's an option. Yeah, like I can chart a path. I can chart a path in my brain. But you can do that with anything. You can do it with mental health, right? Yeah. There's people in my life, if I were to go through something in a mental health crisis, I have the resources. I have the people around me who would get me that help.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that. You know what I mean? So you have to like temper your expectations. So you're right. Like some people just have it's just unfair, but some people have an unfair advantage to not have to deal with as much.
I think though, which is interesting, and I learned this from a Will Smith video like 4 years ago, which was the difference between fault and responsibility, right? And it's like, you got your cards that have been dealt, and you got to look at them face value, and you got to make the difference at some point. It's okay. Like, if you go through something, like, you should live out those emotions. Like, if you're sad, you should cry it out, whatever. But there should be, there needs to be a time where you cut that off and you look at it straight up and you go, okay, this might not have been my fault, but it is my responsibility to take action, right? What has happened in my life has happened. If you could switch it, which I know you probably picked up from the book, right? It's like, if you can switch to the mindset of everything's happening for me and not to me, and you drop that victim mentality, things will start to open up, and you just have to build habits to fill in those gaps. Because if you're going to eliminate some of that bad stuff, you're going to take conversations like we have or podcasts like yourselves and plug it in and go, okay, and if I'm not going to go hang out with that crew 3 hours a day, then what am I going to do for those 3 hours?
Right.
I might as well. If I don't have that, I got to take my own responsibility. So, like, again, I'll put it into my life. I only talk about things I experienced. It was like, okay, I got to print shirts here for 14 hours a day because this is what got me into it. So it's like, all right, I'm going to play these videos over and over again because it's like, I listen to these songs on the radio all the time, and I know these lyrics for years and years and years. So like, if I could do the same shit with what I'm learning in a book, or I'm learning on a podcast, or I'm learning from a video, then I'm going to listen and listen and listen and listen until it's ingrained in my head, and now it becomes a habit, right? So it's like eliminating some of those things and saying, okay, it is my responsibility to take care of my own life. And I think like a huge important way to do so is to really compartmentalize and say, where am I in control? I think a lot of people waste a lot of time dwelling over things that they have no control over. I used to be petrified. I used to be petrified of the rain and the storms when I was a little kid. My dad would just be like, yo, it's going to rain regardless. So either get the fuck inside or don't, right? So it's like, what are you going to do about it? So you need to look at things and go, okay, I don't have control with that, but I always have a control about how you react. Life is not, don't get worried about what's going on. Get worried about when the ball's back in your court and say, okay, here's what's happening. Here's what I have to deal with. I have control of this, my reaction. How am I going to react? That's the most important thing. How you react to your adverse situation 100%. Is way more important than the adverse situation itself. Again, respect to your story. We all have them, right? But let's talk a little bit more about how you feel in those moments. I think we're going to be able to connect a lot more and not get too worried about what your story, because the issue is, it's like, oh, you went through that? We'll listen to this, right? And it's like, no, but I'll reverse it and say, you hang on to your story, I'll hang on to mine. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a night where you were sitting there crying, shaking, couldn't catch your breath? Straight up. Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now we're all connected. So have I. Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Now, when I tell you what happened to get to that, and you do too, I'm not playing the game of, oh, that ain't shit, listen to this.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going, respect. I've been there, man. Yeah. I've been there, man.
Say I think you're my friend, right? And I'm telling you a story. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, I've been through something worse. You know what I mean? I don't really... That's not a true friend. A friend will just listen, take in what you have to say, and take it for what it is and try to help you through it. You know what I mean? But touching back a little bit on the control thing is, one of the only things you have control over in this life is you.
Yeah.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Bro.
And if you can kind of carry that mentality with you of everything outside of me, you know, I'm going to try to just be the best person I can be and see what happens. And most times, when you have that mindset, that's when the good things really start to happen.
A book I would very much implore you to read is The 4 Agreements.
It's been on my list for a while.
The 4 Agreements is just like basically this past week I just ripped through it and was texting pictures.
Are you big on audiobooks, or are you just a straight reader?
No, dude, I'll give it to you right now. New AirPods for the noise cancellation. Stress relief playlist on Spotify.
Yep.
Pen in hand, underlining, and then if I need to...
Texting Austin pictures of random quotes. Because he won't read the book.
Yeah.
That's it.
If you look at our messages, bro, it's the same shit.
And honestly, what's super important is know those friends that like I know like people will get annoyed to shit I'll send or I'll say or I'll rant, but it's like I use my friends as notes sometimes. I go, yo, I'm gonna FaceTime you about this later. Like I want to get back on the I want to go, because you can't. It's surface level stuff. You gotta. What are you going to do with this information? There's tons of information out there. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to incorporate it in your life? That's part of the control.
You said it yourself.
The Four
bro.
Agreements is a book that I've heard people go on and on about for a long time.
Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. I'm going to butcher it now. No assumptions, which is huge.
That is huge.
I forget what the fourth may be, but you know,
I think a huge one right there is your word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about, I think about myself, how many times when I was like younger, I would say something and then either not go through with it or, you know, change my mind or maybe let someone down with not following through. And I'm trying, that is a huge thing for me now. I'm trying, if I say something, like the tongue is really the most powerful thing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, all you are is your reputation, right?
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't know you. So you carry that. I mean, some people would say it doesn't matter. I think it matters, right?
I would stress heavily that it matters the most.
You want to be known as a rational person and a good person.
And isn't that a law? Isn't that a law?
It is.
Reputation
it's
is
like,
everything. Protect it with your life or something like that.
Your
reputation.
Because
life. I mean, you build your reputations. Kind of go back to what you were saying with control, right? I don't care who you are, where you come from, whatever. You have decisions to make that you have to be accountable for, right? So some people are set up better to make those decisions. Some aren't. But you still have to make those decisions, and you still live with them, right? So you control what you can control by just making the right decision. And my mindset is, and we talk about this quite frequently at work, is rational people make rational decisions given all the facts. So if you're a rational person and, you know, you have all the facts, you're going to make a rational decision, right? And that's how I live my life. You don't always have to overthink it, to try and think 3 steps ahead, 5 steps ahead. Just knock out what's in front of you. Be responsible. Be accountable. Rely on the people around you. Lean on the people around you because, like, nobody's perfect. I don't care how confident you are. I don't care what you have in life, how successful you are. You know, you're only as good as your team around you. And my dad and mom built a successful business by surrounding themselves with people who are smarter than them. More reliable than them. Who are going to better them. Like, you're only as good as that network, right? You say you're only as good as the weakest link. I believe that. Like, you have to surround yourself with good people.
True, man.
And they're going to push you to make good decisions, you know, and whatever that is, whatever channel of your life that is.
100%. Decisions and emotions are very linked in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if a decision has to be made sometimes, I know I have work tomorrow morning. I need to be well rested. I need to be focused. I need to get, 8 hours of sleep and whatever, meditate before it. Because those are all the things I do. I work in an emergency room now. So when I go in there, man, it's chaos. So I need to be my best
100%.
version when I walk through that door.
But that's a choice that you make every day.
Yeah.
Like, nobody can you don't have, like, none of the three of us are a little, like, angel devil on your shoulder. Like, you have to make those decisions every day. You wake up, you're accountable for your actions. You get there on time, not like 10 minutes late and call it on time. You probably get there early every day to be ready to be there, ready to work on time. You probably stay your whole shift. You don't hide in the bathroom. You don't do the little things that people who are trying to cut the corners do. You own your shit. You're accountable for your actions. And guess what? Good things happen to you.
Good things will happen.
You know?
And your emotions can trick you too, because sometimes I'll be like, oh man, I wish I could just go out. Right? They start like playing with you a little bit. All my friends are out or something, but you got to take emotion out of it. You just, what do I have to do in this moment that's going to be better for me? Because you have to take your future self into account too. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to be the best for me next week, next month, next year?
It's
like,
all marathon.
It's not,
If you're not thinking that way, I'll tell you what. This guy George, when I was at Penn State Altoona for 1 year, and it was like, you know how old it's like hang out in Dunkin' sometimes, like in the corner in the morning. So this one guy was like by himself.
And Manhattan Bagels.
Yeah, Manhattan.
They're some of the best people to go up and talk to.
Well,
they know a lot.
Point being is this guy was sitting by himself, and I'd seen him a couple times, so I just sat down real quick, and I just wanted to add, which I'll do weird shit like this for a lot of times with strangers. I sat down, and I said, hey man, how you doing? I'm Nick. Nice to meet you. He's like, yeah, I'm George. Nice to meet you. I said, can I ask you something, sir? He's like, sure. I was like, what's one of the biggest regrets you have in your life? Being at the tail end of your life, you know, and looking back as a young guy like myself, trying to figure life out. And he told me a story about a girl. I won't get too crazy into it, but the girl he was dating when he was in his 20s, and he was like, he told his buddies, like, I'm in love with her. I'm in love with her. I want to marry her. And his buddies were like, why don't you just, even though people got married younger then, they were like, why don't you just give it some time, give some time.
Yeah.
Long story short, he doesn't end up asking her to marry him the night he wanted to. The next day, she dies in a car accident. Now, this guy ends up having a great life. He told me, he's like, I love my wife. I love my kids. Great life. He's like, but the point is, I'm still bringing it up, right? I still think about it. So what I took away from that, what makes me get into these day-to-day decisions, is I ask myself, you know, difference between something to do now that will help you down the road versus something that's just going to give you repercussions now, right? Like going out tonight and get with a chick, that's awesome. You wake up tomorrow, but there's really, you know, what is it? Or staying in and working on your craft, knowing that down the road this is going to help you out for what you want down in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Way more important. The question I ask myself is not if this is going to work or if this is going to work in my favor or not. Will I wonder what would have happened? Right. So I'll jump to 80 years old when I'm sitting on the beach with Austin and our kids are, you know, whatever. And I think to myself, if I don't know what this outcome was, even if it was a shit outcome, would this cripple me? If that's the case, go do it right now. That's it. Bottom line. Because if you think like that, everything is reverse engineering it, right? So you hear the cliches and you think, okay, but how? But what? But why? But it's like reverse engineer it. So if you want to live every day like it's your last, genuinely think like it's your last fucking day, and then you will, right? So it's like if you're making decisions predicated on if I am so fortunate to live the longevity of a lifetime and I get to see all these things come to fruition, then on my day-to-day actions, they'll correlate. So God forbid this is my last day. Well, guess what I'm doing? I said I love you before I left to my friends and my family. Right. I put in that work. I did that thing that was going to help me down the road. So you're eliminating all the things that give you guilt and give you some of these emotions that you end up dealing with the next decision you have to make.
And a lot of times it's just about getting out of your own way, right? I mean, and one of the biggest traits of successful people is delayed gratification. 100%.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification is key. Yeah. Like you were just talking about. Yeah. Would we all love to, let's go out, meet a girl, whatever, sleep with them. Next day you wake up. But then a lot of times, 100% of the time, usually you feel like total shit about it. You're like, why did I do that? You know what I mean? Like, instead of just maybe staying in, working on your craft, whatever, and like...
Or go out and get curious. Get to know that chick, right? It's not gonna get into a relationship show. If you look at my Instagram, I haven't had a lot of girls on my Instagram.
I've been with my girl for 6.5 years. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm gonna sit this one out.
That's huge. Like maybe try to know them or get some substance from them instead of just.
That's my big thing. You know, is it's when, you know, a lot of stuff that I share, whether if you see it on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and especially like through the firm that we're Ponley Hockey, like, you know, a big thing that we always discuss is like, what are you like? You don't have to. Everyone thinks you have to become this different guy, right? Funny things,
or become the guy,
right?
You know?
And it's like funny thing happens, like, you know, when you start making things happen for yourself. And I'm not talking about, you know, dollar bills or whatever. I'm talking about things that make you genuinely happy, right? And people, they always say the same thing. I don't even recognize them. Who are you? And I'm saying, no. It's reversed. Before, I was never me. Now I'm actually being me for once. This has always been here. I was just scared. I was insecure.
I've been in those moments with Nick where people haven't seen Nick in a long time. Like, damn, you really, you know, he's a totally different person.
It's crazy, is it? Because people can't even recognize it. Like,
and I go, I knew this was happening. I knew this was coming up.
I'll have like weird times in my life where you can attest to this. I'll have like 3-4 month stints sometimes where just people won't see me, and then I'll like pop up somewhere, and they're like, what's going on with you, man? And it's just like I need that sometimes, man. You know, like
quote the legend himself. He's back like he left something. You know what I mean?
But it's important. Like, and one of the things you said earlier, which I wanted to ask you guys about too, when we were talking about work and doing like the little things and not taking shortcuts. How important do you think that is to take kind of? I think of it as like taking a like as you become humble in a way. You're like, you do those small things that I feel great about that. Sometimes when I do something that I know like is a little thing, but I'm like, in my head it's huge. That's the biggest thing.
Is the question like how do you tackle those without getting the instant gratification from it?
The question's more so like, how important do you think that is to kind of just attack those small things that
I'll go after Austin, but I think we'll correlate on the answer.
So I'll take it back a little bit. So my grandfather and grandmother started a business in Philly about 45 years ago. We manufacture windows and doors. I've obviously referenced it a few times throughout the podcast. They ran the business for about 20 years. Then my dad and my mom took it over right out of high school and really expanded it even further. Sold the business 2 years ago to a private equity firm. I'm there with my sister now helping to run the business and transition as time goes on. We were successful for 45 years and started with my grandfather because he did everything the right way. He lived in the weeds. Every little thing from the cleanliness of the building to making sure he never lived with an ounce of debt, making sure that everything was, you know, proper in the business from an accounting perspective, making sure that his customers he would bend over backwards for, like just doing things the right way. And it's like it's in every facet of your life, and it's I think it's a little bit of OCD. I have a little bit of it. My dad has a lot of it. My grandfather was like OCD as it gets. Yeah. People usually think of it as a negative thing.
Yeah.
When you live in the weeds and you get, I mean, we have 700 employees. I understand everything that's going on in the business. I'm in the weeds every day because I want to do things the absolute right way. And I'm not perfect, and I'm not tooting my own horn because I am far from a finished product, and I take on more than I know that I can chew right now. But you have to make sure every single day the little things matter first.
Yeah.
Like they don't seem to matter. Your interactions, like people, right? Like Nick talks a lot about, like just the smile, right? The human interaction, asking someone how their day is, checking in on them, like, you know, asking someone how their birthday, you know, thing was, and then running into Kevin, like little things that happen with people, right?
Yeah.
Those little things, they matter, and it comes down to ultimately, like you said, with patience, right? And then I'll turn a bit to Nick, right? People, especially our friends, and our friends, I mean our generation, right?
Our age, yeah.
They want to be rich immediately. They want the path of least resistance. So on social media, we go and we see these guys who are trading crypto, that the 5 guys who've made tons of money, and they're out in Tulum on the boat with like the 10 girls around them with like the open chested shirt.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, how do I live that life? I don't want to do my job anymore. Like, that sounds sick. And they want it immediately.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how life works, right?
Yeah.
Some people get super lucky, and they either, like myself, I've been very privileged in my life.
You're blessed.
I'm blessed. And I'm like the first person to tell you my goal in life is to pay it forward, because I've been super blessed in my life. Like, for people who don't, like, you're not going to get that instant gratification. It takes work, right? You have to get up every morning, be to work on time, like I just said before, and you got to be patient. Like, social media for our friends is just like, it's so toxic. It gives people false hope that they can get everything in life the second that they want it. And there are a very small amount of people that can do that. They hit the jackpot. It's great. But guess what? Not everybody can do that. No. Some people have to just go through life, be happy, take the road less traveled, right? Which is wake up every day, go to work, make the right decisions, raise a family, do the right things, and live a happy life. It's so hard though, like, because there's so many vices out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's one of the hardest things in the world, man.
It is.
I would say as well, though, like you talked about, you know, and just thinking about who might be listening or whatever your circumstances, trying to keep it as objective as possible. It's like, you know, the reason why you have a guy like Austin who has said, you know, his words that he's a privileged guy, right? And, you know, a lot of times especially nowadays, we live in a world where it's not as much of an asset for that individual, right? We're starting to realize that unless you take the road traveled like Austin and his family has, where they have all these principles instilled to pay it forward, then they build a foundation around it to understand they're not going to get complacent with what they've received, right? And that obviously comes from, you know, he's a stone's throw away from his father who, you know, him and his mother, they got it through hard work. So it's not like it's like old money or something like that, right?
No, they work for it.
But here's the thing is, like, a lot of times we're talking about in the weeds, right? A lot of people just are in the weeds. Like, that's just unfortunately what they grew into, right? And so the whole thing is, how can you flip it? How can you use it to your advantage, right? Because you have a lot of other people that haven't been dealt such bad cards, and they're going to get jabbed at heavy. And a lot of times they'll get punched in the face by life for the first time at the worst time, and they don't know what to do. Meanwhile, you got other people who unfortunately just don't have the same amount of opportunity, but they are a lot more ready for the taking than a lot of other people are. Now, talk about the benefit of being in the weeds every single day, you know, that's everything, right? If you are some sort of entrepreneur or if not, if you want something out of life, let's say it's a business, for instance, you want to own a business. If you can't run every facet of that business, you will not own a business.
Absolutely.
Right? And again, like, I had a t-shirt company, not that hard. It was by myself. I was printing the same shirts. But the thing is like, I was in a bad spot. I met this guy. I started out cleaning screens. I was bussing tables. I was doing tree work. I was at community college. Like he said, I was down bad. I was, you know, depressed. I was overweight. It was all these different things. And, you know who you want to be. And there's a long road to travel till you get there. And I'm by no means close, right? But it is those everyday, and it's that belief. It's, again, that marathon, that belief that down the road, you're planting seeds every single day, and you're just watering them over time.
What do you say about the the 30 seconds or the minute if it takes
a minute rule. So
that's something that
you hated it.
I hate it. I hate it because I'm lazy and I'm like, I'll do it in 2 minutes.
I mean, I could go for an hour straight on these little tidbit things, but something as simple as, and this is more in regard to discipline. If it could take a minute, if it could take under 60 seconds to do it now. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Because again, I believe everything.
It's powerful shit.
I'll tell you what.
Simple, right?
I'll tell you what. You want to start building good habits in your life? Make your bed. Make your bed every morning.
I just said that to you.
Make your bed.
Tell them what I was doing when you FaceTime me at 4 o'clock before I was cleaning my bathroom, bro.
There you go.
I'm wiping my toilet down.
Yes.
Like I'm saying to him, what did I say to you? The reason I'm doing this is because I feel more organized.
Yes.
That's the thing that I'm hitting on here is. It's the craziest. It is the tiniest choices that you make on an everyday basis.
How good did you feel after you did that?
I felt great. Yeah. I was. It prepared me for this.
Listen, you need to sacrifice in order to get what you want.
Yeah.
And people say, I was even having a conversation with this girl last night. That sounds cooler, but her boyfriend was there too. and we're having this conversation. She's talking about how draining work is, and to me, it's like. I'm not a big work-life balance guy. It's just who I am. I don't really understand it as much because to me, life is work. It's work being a human being. We've all been through shit and it's tough enough just to be yourself. I believe the hardest thing in this world is to be your actual self, right? Yeah. Because, and we kind of alluded to this earlier, when you're a young guy, you wake up and, if you're a little kid, you want to wear rain boots and a cape, you wear rain boots and a cape, right? But slowly but surely, people start saying, hey, don't sing so loud. Don't scream so loud. Stop crying. Go sit over there. Be quiet. Read this. Sit that. Wear this. Yeah. And all of a sudden, and like you said, and this is 48 Laws of Power, all these different things, it's like you go through a journey just to get back to realizing you can take control of your life again. And just to go back on what we were talking about with the small win stuff, right? So for instance, when I got to Penn State and I was this random guy, no one knew who I was, and I had all this different shirt stuff going out, right? It was like a 3-pronged thing. I was going to have it's always like guerrilla marketing efforts, like the shirts with my name on it. I'm printing shirts. I had a company called The Day Long because we would throw day longs on the weekend. And it was like a trifecta. It was like, you might hear of me here. You don't care. You hear of me here. But then all of a sudden you see I know Nick Rose, and you're like, all right, whether you like this guy or you don't, you're going to go check him out. And I just bought everything to feed you to my thing.
And you're seeing
But the point is I'd be at parties and stuff like that. And people would be like, this is crazy. This is cool. And it was always so nice of people. And I think that the part about what they didn't see, right, is when I was like a little bit heavier and I was depressed and I was I was listening to these things while I was printing these shirts or I was cleaning the screens. Like I had to learn every facet of it to then get to and when I was doing that, it was more survival mode. It was I gotta be around different people. I gotta do new things in my life. And then when you do those things, the accumulation, when it starts to grow a little bit after watering, you go, you know what? Now I know the price points. I know the profit margins. I know how to print them. I know how much time it takes. I have a car. I know what they're paying up at college. I know I can go in and beat their price with better quality. So it's through that stuff that then I realized, oh, maybe I could start a business now that I know what I know through all this hard work when I was in a seat and in a position where I was not ready. I had no money. I could not make that happen at all. But it is the accumulation. And that's every single time. You become a more powerful person with more opportunity when you can understand every facet of what's going on. Because whether you run something or you're a part of something, you're an asset if you can be plugged in. I always tell people, Steve Jobs, I was never a guy who wanted to go to school for one thing or I wanted to be one thing. I always had visions, right? And all these dreams. And I love what Steve Jobs said because someone asked him one time back in the day, they were like, Steve, you don't manufacture the iPod yourself. You're not building the keyboard back there. What do you do? And he goes, some people play the trumpet, some people play the violin. I conduct the orchestra. Right? Plug me in and I'll solve the problem and I'll keep us moving because I know where we are now, where we need to go, and I'll keep that there. Right? So it's the difference between knowing who you are and knowing, are you a little bit more into the leadership type of world or do you want to be somebody that just wants to stick to one craft? There's no bad thing, but does it give you a smile on your face? You even said too about, what other people, they're doing or not doing. I would even say a majority of people are tired because they're going after things that they don't even realize that they don't like.
You got to know what your goals are.
Exactly.
Right? That's my biggest struggle. I had a path laid out for me to run family business. That's not gonna, I'm doing it now, but we don't own the business anymore. But so who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, serving others is huge too. I think for anybody, if you do something for somebody, I don't think there's a better feeling you can have. Yeah. I really
better than being given something.
But that might be your goal. Like, it's I think
everyone's got different.
I think some people it's financial success. Yep. Some people it's just serving others. Some people it's, you know, it might be being in a position of leadership. That's my biggest struggle, is finding what my personal goal is. Like, what do I want that to be? It can be exhausting, but the word that you said without saying it was grit.
Yeah.
Like, you have the grittiness, like, to get it done. Like, if you have grit, you know, whatever that goal is, you'll probably get there someday.
Yeah,
you know?
especially if you're somebody listening that you're in a tough situation, you're in a tough spot. Again, it might not be your fault, but it's your responsibility. Well, what does that mean? What do I do then? That's what it is. It's like, you know, I'm not saying you have to change much. All I'm saying is put on a new set of glasses, see your environment through a new lens, you know, and understand where things you can tweak and use to your ability. Somebody who's been through some shit, the least thing that they need to learn is grit. That's all they got is grit. To stay alive is being grit.
It's what their advantage is.
Right? You have another person who might have not been dealt such bad hands, and the problem that they'll always have is you can't teach grit.
No. Yeah.
It's ingrained in you from what you experience and what you have, how many times your back has been against a wall. Yeah. So you have people that are in tough situations, and they're typically the people we want to impact the most. And it's like, that they got grit in them. So all you got to do is shake them and wake them up and give them a way to use it.
It's also having the self-awareness to put yourself in that position as well. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll say this, and Nick's never heard this quote that I said before, but when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So, you know, if you're, I'm getting that tatted somewhere, like I said, but it's real though, because like, you know, you take a situation, you say, all right, like, you know, maybe you're like, all right, I just started off doing music, whatever, and it sucks. Like, instead of saying that, be like, listen, I'm learning, and I get to see my development. Like, I'll go back and watch old YouTube covers that I did, and the production was dog shit, right? It was the worst thing ever, and like,
yes, sir.
Because the biggest thing is like, it has to suck. Like, it's the hardest thing that like a creator or like somebody who wants to do something different, like entrepreneur. It's the hardest thing for them to grasp is because they want it to be perfect right away. Like, everyone has a vision, like you said, but it has to suck, and you have to have that ability to get past the people talking shit, or get past the people like making you feel like. There are times where I got broke down sometimes. Like, I'll show you this right now. Actually, I saved this. I didn't show Nick this, but I saved this on my thing. So someone commented on my last episode with Pete's Eats, and I deleted the comment because I don't want that stuff on my thing.
Sure.
So someone commented, "Give it up, bud. You ain't ever gonna be shit making podcasts. Get a job." Right. So I screenshot it and saved it, and I didn't. I just deleted.
Is that on Instagram?
Yeah, I deleted it though. Screenshotted it. Because if you're able to build that wall and get past that, you know what I mean? It's like, and then eventually it's like, you know, eventually it's not going to phase you. Like, there's shit that, like, you know, like we approached somebody recently who had something to say, and, you know, we're not going to be pussies about it. Like, if we want to, you know, you're not going to like us, but you'll fucking respect us. Right. So it's like,
you know, just to hint on that, I'll tell you what, and I know this, I know you were talking about some hard times you've had.
Yeah.
I think all four of us could honestly say we've all had hard times. Like you were saying, it's hard being a human in general.
Yeah.
Life is hard, and there's no ending to that either. There's no ending to life being hard. It's not going to get easier. But I'll tell you, even from when I was younger, and if I was in bad spots, I've been guilty of it too. Misery loves company, man.
Absolutely.
When you're miserable, you want and you're not happy with yourself or your situation, or you know, your daily choices, or you don't see a path for yourself. You want to bring everybody down to that level with you. And if you see someone doing a podcast, or you see someone printing shirts or running their family business, you know, that's an immediate person you're going to take a shot at because you see that they're trying to climb out of it.
This has happened forever, and I know Austin's dealt with this too. And like I said, and it might be a story for another time, but you know, I've had a battle in my life, my whole life, getting a book judged by its cover, right? Because you know, I come from, like we said, we're like family, so clearly I could never really be that down bad because I was fortunate to have his family to have my back, right? So it's not like I'd ever be up on the streets or anything like that. But you know, the problem has always been like judging the book by its cover, right? You might see what I have, see what I'm doing, and you think, oh, everything's fine. And you just, it's not even about my story. It's not true for anybody. You can't everyone's always dealing with a battle that you have no idea about.
Yeah.
But what you were just talking about with the comment or whatever, I mean, we've been dealing with that. Everyone deals with that, but we've been dealing with that our whole life.
You ain't got haters, right?
But here's the thing to remember, and again, from the well, you would learn from the 48 laws of power and stuff, but from the 4 agreements, right? Don't take anything personally. You know, the chapter ends with saying, don't take anything personally, even if that motherfucker shoots you in the head. And that's facts, right? So for me, it's like, yeah, all right, some guy don't like your stuff. I mean, it is what, like, okay, who cares? Like, your mom likes it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Your sister likes you. She's helping you out with the camera.
Do you like it?
We're
It's
hanging
really
out
what
here.
matters, right?
We're having a good time.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah.
Like, listen, it is what it is. You're gonna have more people that probably don't like it than do it. It's just, it's vulnerable. This is a vulnerable space, man. This is not easy to do. And then when you know, this is easier now, but then you go out and, you know, like you guys say, you go to the bar, you go to something, whatever, and then something doesn't resonate with somebody else. But still, that I just kind of feel more bad, and I just kind of wish they would. You don't even have to listen to us or anything. It's just like, man, it's never that deep. And if we could get so much more done if we could just be fans of each other.
Right.
It's hard to focus though on just yourself and block that out. Like, and I don't care what environment or scenario we're in. Right. Like Nick said, I've heard plenty of people over Nick's life challenge Nick. I have a lot of people, friends in my life, co-workers, like I'm 24, got a lot of people that are a lot older that challenge, like, what the hell does this kid know? Like, he's an idiot. He's just there because of his family. He's just there, you know, he's a wealthy kid. He's never had to go through shit. What is he worried about? I'll tell you this. I don't care who you are. Money doesn't buy you happiness. Right. I can tell you that 100%. And I will tell you that, you know, other people's success doesn't buy you happiness either. So only your own usually does. Yeah. So I've had a lot of successful people around in my life. Doesn't make me happy. I mean, I'm happy for them. Yeah. But I have personal goals. Right. I don't really give a fuck. Sorry if this is an awkward.
Nah. You're good. You're good.
I don't give a fuck.
I'm already like 6 curses.
I know. I don't give. I figure. I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say about my path and journey. I'm extremely happy with the work I'm doing. Right. Hate to go back to this. I get up every morning on time, get to work, take care of my responsibilities, do my thing. Yeah. There's always going to be haters. People usually. Right, they always shoot for the top. Yep. So like that shit rolls uphill. So when you're successful, when you guys are doing your podcast, I guarantee you that dude's probably like, damn, really, really cool if I could have like about to be a UFC champ on my podcast. Yeah. Like, you know, you guys are doing something right. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm sure there's people, you know, in Nick's seat that are saying, damn, he works for one of the biggest law firms in Philly and is well connected and is super successful. I'm sure there's people in my seat saying, oh, he's got a lot of things good in his life. Damn, man. Like, you know, I'm going to hate on him, but in the background, like, it would probably be cool to be in his seat. Yeah. If you can be aware of it and be like, look, there's always going to be haters. Like, I'm just going to keep doing my thing, make the right decisions every day, and just, like, be good to the people around me. Like, and embrace the pigs. Yeah. Like, embrace those pigs.
Exactly.
And go back to the pigs.
Like, just said, who are you around, too?
Right. Like,
think about some of the most successful people in the world. Think for instance, #1 podcast in the world, Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine how many people are commenting on his stuff, criticizing every little sentence he says?
Yeah. Look at Bieber. I mean, Baby's got the most dislikes ever. Right? I mean, it's like, you know,
be true to yourself, like we're talking about. Again, be true to yourself.
Honestly, you know, like, you got to be just open to it all, right? Like, again, like I'm telling you, there's really not that many things in life that, you know, you get so much information and nuggets and you think it's this thing and that thing and I can you curate it. It really isn't. It's really just a lot of work to realize that it's not that much. It's not that many things. It's just the reps, and the reps, and it's the reminders.
Jocko Willink has this great quote, discipline equals freedom.
100%.
And it's so...
That's so true.
Because comfort is so... it's so enticing. But it's so counterproductive.
It's dangerous.
If you sit there and you just, you know, lay on your ass all day, eat shitty food, and do the most comfortable things, that's one of the most comfortable things in the world to do, right? But, you know, 10 years down the line, you might be diabetic, you might have heart disease, you might have, you know, all these health problems. Who knows? You might take 30 years off your life. But if you're disciplined, and that's the thing, like that I'm learning more and more each day. It really is the smallest stuff, to the meal you eat, to the... You know what I mean? To the time you go to bed, to what you do the night before. Like Matthew McConaughey has this great commencement speech.
Yeah, I love that video, man.
Where he says, like, you know, it comes down to preparing your coffee the night before so that way you're not late for work the next morning.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really is that there's no room for error, man.
Preparation.
There's no room for error. Like,
the other side of it too is, I mean, who says you're here tomorrow?
Yeah.
I know people hate to hear that, but like, honestly, it's like we spend so much time in fantasy world. Like, the past is really just, for the most part, your version that you've learned to believe.
It's your imagination,
right? And the future problems. I mean, you can't, right?
Yeah.
And you can use that in so many different ways. I often say, you know, don't tell me what I can and cannot do, because until you meet that person that can seriously look into the future, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm true with this, that no one's lived tomorrow yet. Yeah. So don't tell me what's happening tomorrow and what I can and cannot do.
Right.
So it's like you build all these little things. We get so worried about. That's why I always say, you know, it's the yin and the yang of you run the marathon, you set those things up, but it's actions today, right now, right here. There's nothing else going on but right here and right now. So it's like, if you're so fortunate to have tomorrow, you've set yourself up pretty nice. If those days, you know, correlate over time, and you're so fortunate to live a life, to build a family, to have a nice, you know, live in a nice community, give back to some people, then you've really set up a good foundation.
I think part of it, to hit on that, Nick, too, is it's like fighting the self-consciousness that you have. Yeah. Like, I don't care. I know I'm saying all these things you got to do, but everybody's self-conscious. I don't care who you are. Like, and when you hit a
majority of my life,
some people, like, it's the opposite. So I didn't grow up self-conscious. Like, to probably the age of like 18, I was like skinny dude, real cocky. Like, you know, I played sports. It wasn't the best. I was not a great athlete by any means, but like, I did enough to where I could like get on the court with people who were actually a lot better than me, and had always had a girlfriend, had a lot of good things going in my life. And I was like, I had no self-consciousness in all my life. And then I get to college, I put on weight, I started eating the shit, very undisciplined. I'd never had anxiety in my life. I started having this anxiety that I like had no idea. It was such a challenge to go through. There's these things changing in my life, like my life path that I thought was laid out for me in our business changed because we sold the business. So I'm like, shit, now everything I've been thinking I'm going to do for my life. Like, you know, I'm in this now. I went to a small private high school where I was a big fish in a small pond. Then I go to college around a lot of people that were smarter than me. Some of them better looking in my brain. They're better looking than me. They're better athletes than me. They're more. And I'm like, oh shit! Now I think I'm a small fish in a big pond. And then your whole view changes, right? And you're like, oh shit! Now I gotta fight this off. I don't want to go back to being the person who was aloof, who thought that I was just like a cocky asshole. I just want to be aware enough of where my missteps are and where I think I need to better myself, and still have the confidence. Like, I'm still me. I know there's really good things that I do. Right? I know that I think I'm really good with people. I'm a great people person. I think that I'm a good family person. I think I treat my girlfriend really well. I try to acknowledge those things. At the same time, I acknowledge I have bad anxiety. I don't eat the best. I need to get myself in better shape. I like put it all on the table, right? Which is like, people don't do it. A lot of people, like, I've heard you guys talk about it, like they suppress it. They suppress those things. They don't even want to. That's like, it's like, put those things. Oh, they're there. I'm so afraid of them. It's like, no, put them on the table. Look, I'm the first one. I mean, look, my girlfriend was there in Nick's seat. She said he doesn't eat good now. I don't. I still have these problems, right?
Dude,
I still have these things, but
it's
day by day trying to get your mental there, because it's you know, we talk about
it. It's embracing it. It's embracing that suck. Like, how long? Our story is similar to theirs in a way, like the way we grew up and everything. How many years did you have no idea I had anxiety?
All of them.
I never told you. I used to go to class, dude, and be like dry heaving on my way into class from anxiety of like going there and sitting. I used to get like the sweaty palms when I'd be sitting in class. Like, same thing. Like, are people looking over at me? Like worrying about being judged and all this stuff. Like, scared to like talk in class, like, because I knew the whole room just turning and looking at you.
You know, it's cool that we're sitting down like this, because we get to have this, like, and we're like sitting across from each other. But it's like we are all correlated in some way, but we grew up from birth on both ends of the table here, and it's almost like the reverse, right? Because everything that's been extremely detrimental in my life has been like on his front doorstep, right? So it's you know, again, you get judged the book by its cover type thing. It's like the far majority of my life has been, and I live a weird scenario because when I was born up until I was probably 12, 13, I was born with kind of some sort of chemical imbalance of anxiousness and depression, things like that. But I had a banging life, man. I mean, people, they were huge fans of me. I was very good, set up real well, great family, everything.
Yeah.
It was different because around 13, a lot of things had shifted in my life, and it was not anything I thought it would be something I had to deal with. Yeah. And from that point on, it was at that adolescent time too, you don't really understand anything, why things are happening in your life or why you are incapable of doing things.
They're just happening so fast.
So I used to go, I mean, man, 8th grade, I almost failed completely and didn't make it to high school because I barely went because I had such anxiety and depression. I used to go to school every day and end up calling my dad in the bathroom and leaving. I missed so many days. Eventually, the last week of school, my principal called me in, was like, I don't know if you're going to make it through. You're failing everything. And then we talked to my therapist at the time, understood what was going on the past year, and then they let me through. Again, you get to, in high school, same type of way. I was friends with everybody. I used to get off on the fact of I have all these different friend groups. Yeah. Little did I know that the reason I was so friendly with everybody is because I spent every minute trying to make sure that they loved me. I was versions of myself so they would like me. Now, I love them. I still love them. That was great. Yeah. But I was so afraid to be myself, and so many of those flaws and the suppression of those flaws and dealing with them so silently, eventually you get to a place where they burst. And so, unfortunately, I went to Chamonix High School. Unfortunately, we had several different suicides, and you end up with kids in your class and stuff like that.
We had the same thing.
Yeah, and it's a shame, especially with our generation. It's more common, unfortunately, and we hope that's not a trend that continues on. But the thing for me that I was always dealing with so many things in my head. I was always so depressed. I was always so anxious. I was so bad, such a bad friend to myself. And it's still a crazy process. The reason I read is because I have to figure the shit out, or I'm going to be fucked up in the head for the rest of my life.
100%.
And so it's you get to the place where it's I always say, you make changes in your life and you shut those doors and lock them when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? Yeah. So by the time, a classmate of mine had passed away, and then eventually my school got into this thing that had MTV used to have on there. It was called Challenge Day. And Challenge Day was basically you take different pockets of people from the whole school, all different grade levels. It's probably junior year for me. And you go into the gym all day long. And the whole thing is icebreakers, getting to know each other. And it's very awkward, right? You have jocks and people, whatever. And that girl's weird and this person, this and that. And towards the end of it, they break you down. And one of the most impactful things for me was, one, being able to share my story and not feel like people, because you want to share your story, right? Even right now, I want to say some things, but you're always but it might be perceived differently, or people still say, oh yeah, but easy for you to say, whatever. The most impactful thing for me, and what really changed my life and quote unquote locked that door for me, was at the end, you're on a basketball court, and let's say you're at the 3-point line, and then the other line's at the baseline. And they'll say things, and they'll say, cross the line if it pertains to you. And one of the things that they ended up saying was if you've ever tried taking your own life. And, I saw some people cross the line, and unfortunately at that time in my life, I had never tried to do that. And so I started to see some of my classmates or people I've known, you're in high school, it's some kids you're in kindergarten with, you might not talk to them, but you're oh my God, but then you have somebody you're looking down the line, right? And then right here, you realize oh shit, that's my best, that's a buddy, what the, and so when it starts to click, you go two things. One, I had no idea they were dealing with that, and two, I started to think, wow, maybe I can be a little bit more honest with these people about how fucked up I am right now. Yeah. And it took to the day that I realized I was really, I think I was starting to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. It was the day that everyone wears their college shirts and senior year of high school. Everyone wears their stuff that they're, I went to school that day. I was probably there's 715 kids in my class. I was 92 in the class or something. I mean, I just never applied myself at all. I did awful. I never did homework. My dad always jokes I was it was always copy and cheat and whatever. It was a social environment for me. Yeah. Because really I was putting Band-Aids on shit, not dealing with them in my life. And so I was just looking to please people to be liked, right? And so it left me with no substance and no future endeavor. I mean, quite frankly, that day, I didn't even know that we had those days. And everyone's wearing their stuff. And I literally thought I wanted to be wait, when did we start doing the homework? I thought we were just fucking around. Like, what the hell? And I started to look at this and be like, man, I know, you know, we all grow up in the area. And so, I mean, I went there, so I don't mean it negatively. But growing up, you almost say it negatively, like, oh, you go to Bucks, or like, oh, I'm going to go to Bucks, right? It's like a negative thing.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're in Bucks. And you're like, well, shit, I guess I'm not making any of these things happen for myself, right? And ended up being a great experience. But it was that year of, you know, first time, again, getting into a mental space where I was, you know, ready to go. I was ready to take my own shit and be like, I don't think I can do it anymore. And in getting to that place and having this like out of body experience where I thought that I actually took my own life. I really don't talk about this so much, but like when I was like in community college, there was a point where some things were just piling up, and it just got to a point where I was at a red light near my buddy's house after finding out some information, and I got stopped. I was the first car when the train stopped, and what I thought was real was that I got out of the car and I stepped in front of the train. When the train came, I never even told you this. When the train came, I like came to, and I was in my car, and I was just envisioning it, but it was so real to me that I thought it was it. And then all of a sudden I realized I didn't actually do that. And I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking worse than I thought it was going to be for me. Like, I really have so much shit I got to fucking...
you gotta, and you got to go back to the root, though. Like you were saying with the Band-Aid thing. You're just covering over those things.
Do the fucking surgery.
Go back and do the surgery and fix what the problem is. Like, I know my younger cousins and shit watch this, and they're in high school right now, and I know how hard it's got to be right now to be in high school. Like, I know it was hard for us.
Thank God we're out of school now.
Like I want them to realize, like, this is a very small example and kind of silly of anxiety and fear and stuff, but in my life that I want everybody to take. So as a younger kid, like, I was deathly afraid of needles. I'm a nurse. So think of that. Deathly afraid of needles. I couldn't look at it. Like, when I'm getting blood drawn, nothing. I would get all like lightheaded and the worst, like literally like panic attacks if I'd be going to get needles. And I don't know about you guys, but just fear drives me crazy. Like, I want to attack it so bad. And all throughout school, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do IVs. It was just something that like haunted me. And then I attacked it. I went that first day of work. I was like shaking before I had to do my very first one. They sent me down to the ER at my last job all day for 12 hours, and all I was doing was IVs the whole day, just putting them in. And it's really, it's a lie, dude, because you do it like, I did it like 4 or 5 times, and then it's like nothing. It's just like...
It's repetition.
Like, you have to force yourself to like face that.
Well, what I would say, Nick, is like...
you get stronger, and you're stronger than you think you are. As cliche as that is, you really are stronger than you think you are.
Yeah, I think like what Nick's describing right now is like what I would call like the art of showing up, right? It's like, you know, it's never as bad as what you think, right? No. Once you actually confront whatever it is. And again,
that's 90% of it, right? Just showing up.
The thing to remember too, I always like to call a timeout real quick and just remind people, like, don't get it twisted. Like, what might be detrimental to me might be stubbing your toe for you, right? So it's, again, don't get convoluted in the stories or what we went through. And if you're like, oh, well, that's not as bad as mine or mine's, whatever, just look at it at the context of the conversation. He had a fear. And that he was pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. Also wasting a lot of time, energy, and emotion on this said fear that's coming up that you know you're going to have to deal with, but you're not dealing with it yet. All of a sudden you say, you know what, I'm showing up, I'm going to do it, whatever. It's not. I have to deal with this. What happens after?
Just like that.
Oh man, I could have been done. I could have done this shit years ago. Same
and
shit.
And that applies to so many different areas of life. Like that's why I said that's such a kind of a silly example because it's a needle, whatever.
No, it's your truth.
It's a huge example. It's a necessary thing for you to do your job.
But that might be the fear of public speaking. That might be the fear of you know, being vulnerable about that story that you just told us that you never even told your best friend here about. You had this vision of getting out in front of a train and like. If you just do it, you really find that like people love that, man, and like thank you for sharing that story.
Of course,
because I want people to hear that. People right now who might be in a bad spot or something, and hear you talk about that.
I want to start off. So off camera, we talked a little bit about like comparing each other and like, you know, social media, but like the biggest thing Nick said, he dropped it on one of the episodes. He said the comparison is a thief of joy. Right. So it's like
a quote of mine.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
That I saw.
Yeah, bro.
It's a great one. Comparison is the thief of joy.
It
is, yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It means, say, like we were just talking about a little bit when we weren't filming, but the Instagram thing, for example, and you guys were just talking about how you went to Aruba recently. And I've been guilty of this in my life, and I know this is a big thing right now with social media, is you may see, say I saw you two guys and I had no idea who you were, and you're in Aruba and you got, 10s with you, two of the hottest chicks I've ever seen, and I'm sitting in my living room.
That's you, Jenny, if you're listening. That's you.
That's your girlfriend.
That's a 10. That's a 10.
You said Jenny, I'm sorry.
Why'd you have to say that? Because all I'm thinking is, fuck, man, we took no pictures.
But I'm sitting in my living room, eating a fucking hot dog or something and watching ESPN, and I'm like, man, these guys are taking these trips to these amazing places, and it looks perfect, and they're living this crazy life. That's gonna, in that moment, that's gonna rob me of all the joy that I could be having. Just the joy of, I have a house.
Yeah.
I have shelter. I have a shower. I can go upstairs and take a shower. I have a fridge full of food right behind me. Like, I have everything I need right here.
You have friends. You have a support system.
I have friends. I have two parents who love me to death and have given me everything. And there's so many people out there, I feel, who get into this trap. Yeah. It's just a trap.
I mean, look, it's hard not to,
and
right?
And it's hard. I've done it.
Dude, I don't care what you have, how much money you have, how many trips you take. There's always going to be something like, oh, that looks dope. Like that, like this guy really must be the man. And it's like, or this girl must be she must be the boss, right? Like she's the one. You have to just like take a step back and realize it's very easy to make your life look great, right? I mean, it's very easy to manipulate your social media to look like everything is perfect. But every single one of my friends that does this, I know them personally enough to know that it's not that. Yeah. Bro, and a lot of times people do it, and I'm guilty of it myself, to mask, like, look, I'm the first person when I go to the club and we order bottles, it's on my Instagram. Like my phone, like and this is most people when I'm on Instagram, most of my posts are my food. I love steak. I go to a steakhouse, I'm the first guy before the freaking thing even hits the
phone
table.
eats first.
I'm the one like, boom, ribeye, A5 Wagyu, like right on the table, right? And I'm doing it not because my Instagram cares about the food, because I'm trying to like push my clout.
You're trying to flex.
I'll be like, I'm at this nice restaurant, and like it's so stupid because I get absolutely nothing out of it. Yeah. Nobody gives a fuck. Yeah. And but like it's what you do, so it's hard. It's hard, especially as like a young man, because like it's that I'm not to say like females like they don't compete with each other, but a lot of it's always like the one-upsmanship of being a young man, right? Yeah, bro. And you're supposed to be this like, especially as this like young adult, this budding man into society. You're supposed to be confident. You're supposed to have your shit together. Your great job. Your life's supposed to be perfect. Like everything's supposed to be the man of the house. All these things. No emotions. Like that's something to bring up, which I want to drop off for you to talk about the perception reality stuff. But to circle back, like as a young man, like we're not supposed to talk about our emotions. Like, dude, like you're not supposed to go see a therapist. You're not supposed to like put those like vulnerable things out there. You're just supposed to subtle it.
Which
so
is everything.
Which is the challenge, because that's not the way it's supposed to be, and that's why a lot of these guys. Well, so I want you to pick up on where you're going.
I want to say something quick. So listen, bro. So it's like, we're wired as humans to want the next best thing, right? It's like, me and Nick have one camera. Oh, let's get a second camera. Oh, let's get some lights. Like that's how we're wired, and like, you know what I mean. So it's like you gotta be okay with that. You know what I mean? And you're allowed to, right? But it's like also something I learned too is like, cool people don't give a fuck what you have. You know what I'm saying? Like cool people, like. You see people.
Cool people don't give a fuck what they have.
Right. Exactly. Like cool people don't give a fuck now. I'm saying, but like,
that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you see, like, let's say you see somebody post about, like you said, about they put a few $1,000s in Bitcoin, and now like, I'm saying, they're like, it's like no one gives a fuck, right? It's like by you making yourself try to look cool, you're making yourself not look cool. So it's better to like, and that's the one thing I respect the most about your family is like, you guys do a lot behind closed doors, like just how good of people you are, but it's also you allow others to experience what you have, which makes you guys that much more fun to be around. Like, anyone who, even my I'm not trying to say it, my best friend, one of my best friends, Seb, my friend, right? He started doing the stock market and he's killing it. Yeah. You won't hear a single thing about it, right? It's like
respect.
You know what I mean? 'Cause it's like he has all these things and he can, buy paddy wax if you really want. Like it's like he could, you know what I'm saying? But what he does, like, for example, for him. So we were in Miami. And this just goes to show like how good of like, you know, there's wealth and there's being rich. Wealthy to me is like the kind of person you are and allowing others, like giving back with your success and what you have, you know, giving back and inspiring is like my version of success, right? So it's like, you know, we were in Miami and it was me, my friend Bailey, Riley, and Seb. And Bailey like broke her phone, right? She was in Miami and she needed her phone. Like she was leaving tomorrow. And she was like, oh, I just ordered one. It'll be at my house when I get home. So, and I was asleep during this, but so Seb and Riley go out and they go to like, they said they're going to Rite Aid or something, right? And it's just me and Bailey chilling at the house. Like I'm sleeping, she's in the living room. Seb comes back and buys her a whole new phone.
That's great.
And it's like she like cried, right? And she was like, "Oh my god!" Like, you know what I mean? And that's
what it's all about.
It goes back to you, bro.
My grandma used to say a quote.
Yeah.
She passed away, unfortunately. She had a big impact on to actually the three of us. We all knew her pretty well. She's a great woman. She used to say, people would say to me all the time growing up, "Oh, you're rich," like as a kid, like. And she would say, and I would go home like, "Oh, this kid came, he's talking about the money I have." She said, "Just tell me you're rich with love."
Right.
Like that's it.
That's all it is.
Like you're rich with love, and I am.
And that's fact.
And that goes
it's
back.
True. Like because I had so many people in my life that love me, and you talk about like being humble enough to share it. Like, you know, my parents successful. Most of their friends are the people that they grew up with or the people that they've been around. Like, they're not out looking for. It's just they're people that they love, and the people who return that love. The people who give back what they put into them. Right. So if it doesn't have to be money. If my parents are putting in love or resources or just time. Yeah. They want people around them who give back that same time and love, and that makes you rich with love.
Yes. Yeah, and that goes back to reputation. So your parents have a great reputation of always being good to people, having good morals. You know, whether it's at work or just being around. Because your mom's hilarious. Like they're funny. Your family's awesome, but it goes back to reputation.
She's gonna love that you just said that. By the way,
I love you, Fran.
That'll be on her Facebook later. Kevin said, "I love funny."
But no. So basically, what I'm getting at is that their reputation is so good as people, and these things that they're doing for others, it's so casual to them because they've hardwired that habit in their brain to be like, yo.
But someone did that shit for them once too.
Exactly.
Like, don't forget. Like it's you always got to pay it for it. I don't care.
Exactly.
Money can travel back, right? It can travel back short term, long term. But if you go back to the source of any sort of income or wealth, the founder of any company, what they're going to say is someone gave them a chance at some point.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who. If I look at my life, it's my parents that gave me the chance. If you go back to my grandfather, he's going to say someone gave him a chance, a break at some point because that's just the way life is. Like,
I feel like
it's not always fair. Sometimes it's just dumb luck.
I feel like I'm sitting here as like, if this is an equation, like the equals to is me, because that's been his family. I am the repercussion of, childhood friend that is just so fortunate to reap the benefits of the things that they let me experience with them.
Right.
But this is why I was like facts when you said love, because that is the most consistent thing that they've always given me, and that's been the most important thing in my life, and it is literally what makes me such a such a better person. Because let's say for instance, we talk about this a million times. I'm a guy who wants to be wealthy, like, and I'm sure everyone wants some financial freedom.
Yeah.
There's two things that made me want to be really wealthy since I was a kid. One, shout out to my dad. Was never really a rule guy, so I grew up watching like Sopranos and Entourage. So my favorite show,
Rob Rose.
Entourage, great show.
Best guy ever.
Fucking hell of a show.
So Entourage to me is the best show of all time. I've probably rewatched it 10 times, and one of the main reasons why, and anyone who knows me knows this is true and this will happen. And the reason why I want to be successful is because I want to Vinny Chase it all. I want everyone to be around me. I want to, I hope my friends are way more successful than I am and happy or whatever. I want them to not even need me, but I want there to be the option. Like I think about the day, we talk about it a lot. I think about the day when I will show up and cut that check. Hopefully one day I can cut a check to my buddy's family to pay off their mortgage because they don't understand how important it was to leave that seat open for me at their dinner table when I needed to, or not batting an eye when I showed up at 2 a.m. and I needed a couch to sleep on just because I needed to be around, a certain type of family-oriented feeling that it would give me some sort of love and repercussion, or have like a woman to talk to at a young age to understand some of the emotions I'm dealing with. For instance,
do you visualize these things? Do you use that visualization at all?
Yeah,
kind of just sit there and think about, because I heard Conor McGregor the one time talking about like how it would just give him such good feelings to think about one day just showing up and just saying to his parents, here, you don't have to work anymore.
Yes, to me, this is...
Shout out to Champ Champ.
Yeah.
Champ Champ.
Love him.
July 10th in Vegas.
Yeah. And he said he would sit...
Champ Champ.
Are you going?
Yeah. To me, this is non-negotiable.
We're thinking about it.
Yeah.
To me, this is non-negotiable.
He would sit in his little broken down car that his girlfriend lent him, and he said he would just close his eyes and think about a brand new Mercedes or a brand new in California.
Every single day.
And it's huge.
So from, I'm fortunate, I work at Ponley Hockey, and I do brand and marketing there. And so I get the fortunate opportunity to be around Sam Pond as the managing partner of the firm. And he just we made a clip the other day I put up on his LinkedIn. And, and I'm prefacing it because in the video he says my name twice because I'm on the opposite side of the camera, but he's like pointing out how fired up I'm getting because he said, a lot of people, especially the Northeast guys from the neighborhood, right? And he always says, when he goes home or certain people ask him, like, do you ever imagine you'd have this beautiful of an office or these opportunities or have a nice suit? Yes, of course. This is not ironic. In fact, when I think about, and sometimes I get crazy wild with my dreams, right? And so I'll even play games when I was like, the day someone, interviews me when I'm a successful man, they say, and it's already in my head. And someone says, could you ever imagine, Nick, when you were younger, that you'd ever have this? And I'm going to say, no, in fact, there's more to it. I'm not anywhere near where I want to be yet. Yeah. This is, of course, if you don't think you're going to be there, you're not going to be there.
Yeah.
You will become what you believe. So you must believe this. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. That doesn't make it easy, but you need to. So yeah, absolutely. I already know the face on that my father is going to have when I'm able to pull up and give him what I know I want to give him one day. I know the feeling I'm going to get when I pull up and I give the opportunity to, maybe pay off a mortgage for my family friends of mine. The other side of it, what I was going to say is the second portion of why I always wanted to be successful is homage to his father and his mother, obviously, but just this unique scenario with what his father would do and the way that he would tip people. Again, I was fortunate that, my trips my whole life with my family is always just the Jersey Shore. I'm not a guy who's really been that many places. It's really just Jersey Shore. That's it. I've only been out of the state a few times. The times I've been out of the country has only been with him besides one spring break in college. Excuse me. Growing up since I was a little kid, I'd always watch his father, the way he would roll up money, the way he would slip it to a guy who helped us out. I mean, even if there was by association, that guy didn't do anything, he's still getting hooked up.
Yeah.
And I would watch their faces light up. And I would just that's why I want to be successful. Because to me, the wealth gives you the opportunity to give and not take a second. You don't need to justify it. You have a feeling, you have a vibe, you want to do something, you can go and do it.
Yeah.
So, and I talk about with his father all the time. It's like these things, and I'm talking down to him teaching me how to actually fold the money in my hand to then give it to somebody.
There's a science behind it.
There's a science.
Shit right
and
there.
you know what? It's like, I do it now. And quite frankly, I'm like, fuck, man, I guess I got to get Chipotle for 2 more days because I don't got that much money to be doing this.
Yeah.
But it is the feeling. It's like, if you can real quick, even outside of Whole Foods one day, this girl was crying her eyes out to me. And it just so happened to get a nice bonus from work around Christmas time. And so I gave her $100 and I walked away and I was like, fuck, I really need that $100, man. I mean, I could have really used that.
Yeah.
But you putting that out there,
it is what it is. It's
it's
the feeling,
yeah,
dude. Giving is a way better feeling than receiving.
Listen,
it is.
Money comes and goes.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you have it doesn't mean you're going to. There's tons of people, I'm sure everybody knows, right, that has been financially successful at some point and it goes away because things happen, right?
Yeah.
The stock market crashes, you make bad investments, you get a divorce and the money goes 6 ways and this one and that.
Yeah.
You get sued. Things happen. You got to be rich with love. It comes back to that same thing of, and I hate to keep harping on it, but it's it's just the truth. If you have that foundation of happiness with your family, it's a struggle for me in my life. I'm super open about it. It's a balance, right? I've had resources in my life, but I've also had to acknowledge them, figure out how to use them in a positive way and not like a dickhead, because that's, a lot of people can do that, but also realize that shit can go away real quick.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed. And I have to know that if it does go away, I have the morals, the values, and the work ethic that I could do enough to support my family.
Right.
Right. Because and I've been very lucky in my life. My parents put me in diverse environments. So I went to a high school where a middle school and a high school where it was extremely diverse, ethnically, racially, from a socioeconomic perspective, from a basketball perspective. I played with the Renegades, but then I was involved with an organization that my parents helped, started to help, started and funded and helped and ran, which was a basketball organization where I was the only white kid, right? And I was in an environment where I was playing in North Philly multiple times a week, and I was exposed to a different environment.
It's important.
It is. I broadened my horizons. I got to know different people in our business. Extremely diverse. You have, like I think I mentioned it before, the widest range of people. I get to know different people. I learn their experience. I remain humble. I realize today, yes, I have a lot of support, but I have enough of a network, and I know enough people, and I have enough people's stories. I have enough background. My girlfriend uses this word. She says the word worldly. I'm worldly enough to where if it all goes away, I have enough confidence in myself that I'm going to be fine.
And bring it back.
It's not going to happen overnight.
Figure it out.
But I keep going back to it again. I wake up every morning. I get to work on time. I do good things. I have good morals, good values.
It's all about your habits.
Yeah. And if you do those things, it doesn't matter because, like you said, it comes and goes. But part of it too is, and it's not just financial. It's acknowledging your privilege, right? Yeah. And I think people, a lot of white people get freaked out by that word because like privilege, people talk about white privilege and it becomes a whole.
It's associated with so many different things.
It has a lot of connotations that are necessary conversations, but also ones that a lot of people who aren't involved in those super diverse environments don't like to talk about. Right? They will hear white privilege. It's like a conversation's political and it's over. No, I mean I have privileges, and we all have privileges at this table. You talked about them, like having a roof over your home, having two parents, right, that are in your life continuously, having education, right, as a privilege. Like I had a great private education my entire life. Yeah, not everyone has that.
No.
So I think to how I counterbalance my anxiety about my life and the things is like I put all my privileges, the things that I have on the table. I'm like, this shit's all great, right? Here's the things that aren't, right? And it's like, what am I going to do with all this great stuff to make a great life for myself and to leave a legacy? That's my anxiety and stress. Right. I don't want to be remembered personally as someone who just mooched off their family. Like I want to have my own legacy and just be Austin, and everyone. And when I'm 60, 70, 80, people are like, Austin lived a great life. Like he made a difference for the people around him. He had his own shit. Like I want to at some point, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or in 5 years, 10 years, I want to run my own business. Don't care about the size, the success, whatever. I just want people to look back and be like, I have my own legacy, and that was it. And it's a tough thing to deal with.
Well,
it's a lot. It's a macro issue.
Dude, legacy is like, it reminded me when you brought up your grandmom and that impact she had on you just by what she used to tell you. Like legacy's everything to me. I want one day when I'm long gone, people to talk about me like, he did things the right way. He showed up. He was reliable. That's another huge thing with success is reliability. Can people count on you? You know what I mean? You say you're going to be there. Are you really going to be there? Or are you just saying that? Like, you got to show up. And one of the things you said about how you went down to North Philly and you would kind of expose yourself to that. I heard Kevin Hart one time talk about that, like, how different his childhood was as in comparison to his kids now. And he was saying how, like, he took them to North Philly. He was driving around with them, and they're like, they had no idea what was going on. Like seeing people down in like homeless people and everything, and they're like,
and you don't have to grow up like. For me, I can never live that experience, right? So like I'd have there's players on my team where people at work, right? Like we have a manufacturing facility. Most of our people make $13 to $15 an hour. Like I said, a lot of whom are second chance. I can't live your experience, right? I'm never going to live in your shoes. I'm never going to tell you, what it's like growing up at 25th and Diamond, what it's like growing up in a difficult household, what it's like growing up in that community. For the greatest things about it, where there is this tight knit community things. Like I can't live your experience. All I can do is listen, show up, be present. And by the way, these weren't my decisions. I give my parents credit. They forced me to go into those uncomfortable situations because they were uncomfortable.
They were smart enough to do it.
I grew up in Churchville in Bucks County. I could have easily lived a super sheltered life where I had a very skewed look on the world, and I was very lucky that my parents put me in scenarios where I was uncomfortable, and I didn't have to.
He wanted to. He said he wanted to expose them to that, to tell them what you were just talking about. That at any point we could lose it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's another world out there
Yeah.
that's not living like this isn't normal. You know what I mean? Like the way we're living, you know, we're blessed, but it could go away. You know what I mean? You got to build a foundation.
Yeah.
You have to build it's to me, it's about character. Sure. Who are you? You know what I mean? You can have all the money in the world, be Elon Musk, be the richest person on the planet, whatever, or you could, you know, make whatever. $13 an hour, whatever.
The two richest guys in the world just got divorces. So
right,
to tell you,
right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's another big thing. This guy Jordan Peterson, who I absolutely love, I recommend his books to you. He wrote a book called 12 Rules of Life. He just wrote another one.
He was like the professor,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. He talks about all the time, like, you know, think about a singer, a huge singer, a Post Malone or one of those guys, like. You can't compare yourself to any of them because their life experience is so different than yours. Like they might not be able to keep a wife, or they might be doing hardcore drugs every day. Yeah, they have all that fame and all those riches and everything, but if you really look at the whole situation and you take it all in, do you really want to be them? You know what I mean? Like you got to take all of it in. There's so much more to it than just money.
Well,
you know?
Yeah. Well, listen, bro. It's like. You mentioned this, like how your family gives back. Because it's like, in a way, it's like it's not your fault that you didn't go through that, right? But in a weird way, it is your responsibility to educate yourself and use the resources you have. So it's like anybody who like says, "Oh, you're rich," like that, they're simply wrong, right? So it's like,
well, they're not. I mean, they're not like I don't blame people for being objective in a situation and acknowledging privileges that other people have. Like I'm never mad if someone explains like, "Oh, you went to a nice fancy private high school." Okay, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like put it on the table. I'm never like that was a tough thing for me too, because I would always be like uncomfortable with that. I was like, oh shit, like I had all these things and like a lot of other people did. Now everyone's putting on the table. And then even my own father, who grew up in the Northeast, like Bell's Corner. He always talks about the size of his bedroom being probably the size of
went to Northeast High School.
Northeast High School. Like,
I mean, it's basically like the Kevin Hart versus kids type of situation.
Exactly what you're describing. It's like, you know, I can't be in that scenario because I just physically cannot be. Like I grew up the way I grew up. It is what it is. But like I feel like I have a responsibility in my life to understand at least and listen and do what I can. Like I have my own views of the world. I have my own political views. I have all these things. But once again, I keep coming back to the word privilege. Like put the privileges out on the table. Understand what they give you in life. Try and pay it forward to people. Just be a good fucking person. Yeah. You know what I mean? Don't be an asshole.
That's what life's all about.
Another thing too is like
character.
If people can't use it against you what you were already putting on the table, right? So it's like you acknowledge, like, say for example, say somebody has like a birthmark on their face, right? Some like, you know, something like that, right? That really affects them. If that person can own that, then there's not a single person on the planet that can make them feel bad because they already own it themselves.
It's so funny you say that, Kev, because I used to say all the time, I'm like, listen, if you own your stuff, then you're giving people no ammo, right? It's almost like a page out of the Dave Portnoy book. But at the same time, I used to say growing up, I used to be like, listen, if I was like a fat guy and I was doing stand-up comedy, I went up there and I immediately started making jokes about myself being fat, and then 5 minutes into the show, someone randomly in the crowd was like, "You're fat." No one's gonna laugh because they'll be like, "Yeah, dumbass, he just fucking said
exactly."
that."
It's like,
but now, if I walked in, and I was talking about this other stuff, and someone was like, "Fat ass," and then everyone starts laughing, and you're like, "Oh, it's you know what I mean?" So it's like you own it and you live up to it, and you're like, "All right, what the hell do I care? I am who I am."
It can be a fine line though about being like, for some people, are really self-deprecating.
Like, yeah, you know, of course. I mean, obviously, everything.
It's hard, but you're right. It's but like for you, Kev, like you're a successful DJ. Like you have a skill set that I know maybe the word privilege wouldn't apply. You wouldn't think in your brain, but you have like something you're really good at that makes other people happy, that brings people together. Like, dude, I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you own that, and I guarantee you there's people that hate on it, just like the podcast. Like I didn't start a fucking podcast. You guys did.
People
you know what I mean?
People that work there hate on it. The people I'm surrounded by hate on it.
It's crazy.
But think about. That's so cool the way you just described it, because I've always known it, but the way you said it, like think about what you're doing. Like you're bringing a group of people together. They love what you're doing. They're all dancing. They're all having a great time. You're creating a little bit of, whether it's 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever, you're giving them a little bit of magic right there, which, you know, maybe they forget about their abusive dad at home or something going on in their life. Like that's important, man. You're giving them a little a little bit of like escape right there.
It's energy, bro. I mean, that's something I really take pride in too. Like, I'm not gonna
sorry to cut you off, but even with what we're doing right now, someone could watch this for 2 hours and just that could change their entire life.
Yeah.
100%. Something you said, something one of us said, and you have no idea the impact words can have. Like,
yeah, that's something that we take perspective on. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, dude, like when I'm DJing there, like I'm not sitting here saying I'm spinning shit and it's like, no. I'm like, I'm playing bangers. People want to have a good time. I want to have a good time. I've always been a partier. I've had temple party houses. You know, I've always been in the middle, in the center of it. And it's just a way that I can do that and get paid to do it and have a good time doing it. You know what I mean?
It's funny though what you said, Hal. Isn't it funny how the people who work there are some of the people who hate you the most?
Yeah, exactly, and that's fine.
Well, it's because you're good at it. You know what I mean? Usually, it's the things that it's the things you're really good at. It's the things that someone who isn't looks at you and goes, "Damn, like I wish I could do that. Let me try and knock him off his pedestal."
I'll be honest with you, bro. I'll say my one fault is that I don't take disrespect lightly at all. Like when it comes to that stuff, like so.
Why do you think?
Because it's because I've always had a chip on my shoulder. I mean, that's what Lily links us, bro. Like me and him we've always had a chip on our shoulder, and that's why this podcast. We
used to go at it more than anybody.
Yeah, that's why this podcast works. Is because we just both have, we just know what we want to do. We have a same goal, same drive, and we've been friends forever. It's like if you guys had a podcast, it'd be popping because you guys like are linked together. It's like we're like the same. It's weird, but I don't handle disrespect in the sense that I'm aware. Like people tell me all the time, like, yeah, okay, like I'm just saying this because it's just what they say to me. They're like, yeah, okay, I come here because of you. Like it's a good time. I love it. Like, and that's fine. I want to have fun with my friends and people that I care about. That's it. Then I'll get like people saying like some workers are like, you're just a DJ, all right? Like they try to put me in my place, quote unquote, and I don't handle that shit lightly because I do. One thing I will do is I'll take pride in something if I truly believe in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like for this podcast, for example, bro, I take pride in the lighting, I take pride in the cameras, I take pride in the fucking backdrop that we just put together, and it's like you take pride in it, and you're allowed to, and people can't use that against you, right? And it's like, and me and him see the results that come from it. So like, we'll be at bars and we'll have people who say, yeah, I listen to the podcast, and they'll confess their life stories and like get emotional to us.
I had a mom tell us like, went through a horrible tragedy in her family life and said, I listen to this every night to go to sleep, and it helps me go to sleep. It helps me through it. Like the feeling you get from that's what makes us want to keep doing this every week, and it's worth the hate.
Here's the question though. Then why, after 5-6 compliments in the night, you end up going home with the one bad one?
The one bad one, right? Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I mean that's something.
That's human nature, man.
Yeah, and that's
so hard.
Yeah, but again, anything that has the best level of success is after what is really hard to do. Yeah. So it's like, of course it's hard. Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, but because I spent my whole life, and we talked about this when we were taking a second. It's like, you spend your whole, like, we're talking about these things because you spend our whole life going about them the wrong way, right? And then and continuing to not do them completely fantastic, right? But it's like you have to have a barrier. You have to catch yourself and be like, oh, I'm doing that shit again. Let me run back. Let me grab that book. Let me reread that. Let me rewatch that thing. And it's like, why do we keep that one negative thing? I used to be the same way. And again, I still am like that. But the difference is how long I hold on to it. And how fast I'm able to remind myself that I need to get this negative energy outside of me and get away from me, and that again, nothing is personal at all. So you know what I mean? It's like the Principles by Ray Dalio book was a good book for many reasons, but one, because you create almost a machine, and that when you have issues that come up, you have vetted your machine so well over time that you can treat it as another one of these, right? It's just another one of these. I'm going to run it through this, and I'm going to figure it out, and it's going to be okay. So it's like, when you have someone say something negative, right, all of a sudden after 5-6 compliments, someone says some shit to you and it hits you the wrong way. It's like you got to, that's your self-work being like, all right, let me take a second here. Whether that's go outside, whether that's later, let me just get this set list done and let me go home. And again, I think it's important to feel those emotions. Like if you feel upset about it, like be upset about it. Like call that circle that you've created around you and live those emotions. Don't fucking dig them down. But again, there is an ending. You have to cut it off and you have to go, okay, I do have to remember like the way people treat me is usually almost always a byproduct of whatever they've learned or whatever's going on in their life. Yeah. Nothing is ever really personal to you. Again, even if they shoot you in the head, it ain't personal.
It's a great concept.
Right? It's, like, it's what's going on. It's what in that book they call like the domestication of the mind, which is like their story and their reasons why. And so, you know, it's like just, I think, again, I'm using you as the example and I appreciate you sharing it, but everyone has that thing where it's like, you're having a good time, you're excited about it, you put in all this work and then you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one
you know?
person.
Well, like you
and then
were
you have
saying.
to remind yourself. It's
exactly like you said.
It's not that bad.
Like we all learn these things from doing it the wrong way. Like I remember times when I would be jealous and hating and and maybe not become vocal with it, but internalized it and it was always because I wasn't happy with either choices I was making, things I was doing. It was never ever about the person.
Never
ever. It was always about me.
Yeah.
If I lashed out on somebody,
you're jealous.
It's because I'm having a bad day. It's not what they're doing.
No,
you know?
It doesn't matter what facet of your life you're in. There's always someone with more or better.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. Like there's a better DJ than you.
Yeah.
There's somebody who's better looking and better shaped than me. There's someone who's a better nurse than you. There's someone who's better in business than I am. Someone who's going to be better upon. Like there's always someone and you can look at it two ways, right? You can let that drive you to be better, and or you can let it hinder you, and you can let it stop you from doing it, being like, I'll never get there.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like I go through it. I go through both. Like sometimes it drives the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like shit.
You're running your own race though.
Well, listen, bro.
That's important.
Like you're running your own race. Like to me, it's all about when I say, you know, almost this whole conversation, but really that book, The 4 Agreements, right? It's a quick book. I recommend to anybody, but the whole thing is like the ways to personal freedom. The most freeing feeling is just trying to eliminate judgment and eliminating the victim mentality in your own mind, which again, I won't even say anybody else has. I'll talk about just myself, right? That victim mentality, that, oh, I've been through enough. Why this? Poor me, all that different stuff, right? All of this, eliminating the judge in your mind of others, right? And of yourself, eliminating these types of negative connotations, all this stuff. It's like, it's much more freeing to just be happy for other people and be curious. Like every person you come across is a new story, and it's a new person to figure out and understand. And, and it's a lot more freeing to sit there and to say, good for you, man. Yeah. Good for you. Like being a better listener has been one of the, two things in my life that I've been working on the most, that I have the least trouble, the most trouble with, is being my biggest fan, like being a good friend to myself and being a good listener. Because typically speaking, I'm a guy who's like, I talk. And then when you're talking, I'm like loading the gun. I'm ready to fire back, right? And then the other side is that, for the far majority of my life, it's like every room I used to go into, I would be like, no one likes me here. No one wants me here. No one thinks I'm attractive. Like, whatever. I have all these issues, right? And so it's a lot more freeing to be like, sit here and be like, dude, good for you, man. That's why it's like, as soon as we started, you're like, I was off the pod the other day because I was like, what's going on? Whatever. Yeah. And you're like, I just started this nursing job and all this stuff. And I'm like, good for you, man. Or even like other people that are doing, there is no doing better than you. There is no better than you. Yeah. Like, you're doing you. And they're doing them. And so it should be exciting to hear about other people's journeys. Yeah. And it should be exciting to share yours. And it should be exciting for people and yourself to be like, oh, wow, they did that. I should try that. Oh, and I did this. They could try that.
That's just what he was saying, right? Is that could be one of the biggest driving factors in your life, is knowing there's someone out there working harder than you. There's someone out there that's better than you at what you do. And that should be exciting, because that gives, that's something to aim at. Right. If you maybe do, it's constant. You have to constantly be working on yourself. There's literally no end to it. It's like,
I said, there's no day off.
Yeah. Like I could have done this better. Maybe I could have approached this person better, or talked to them better, or, asked them a better question. It's like, you have to be accountable to the T. Of the choices. You really do.
Right. And this is something too, like, something I realize is that the people who say bad things, like, it's usually with just them. It's something they're going through.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
so it's like
he just said, nothing's personal.
Yeah, like, I feel bad that they bring that up, because I'm like, something might be going on with it.
And in terms of looking at other people and be like, oh, they live this great life. The one thing me and Nick ask each other probably every single week, we say, why not us? Right. And it's really kind of started, like, this whole podcast thing's been a journey, like, honestly, like, me and him, like, stuff we're going through, but it's like
the start was crazy.
Yeah.
Like we were sitting here on, like, just any other night, and we were just like, you know, we love talking. We watch all the podcasts, and we just looked at each other and said, "Why can't we do a podcast?" You know, like,
amen.
There's YouTube. There's
20 episodes later, you're here
like,
chumming up.
There's YouTube out there. Like, there's
you know, got time.
And bro, dude, it's put us through a lot. Like, dude, even when we're, you know, it challenges us constantly. I feel like we're constantly challenged, and it's something you can like, and that's the biggest thing too. Like having something to work towards. Like that's why running your own business or having something to work towards. Like every single day, I think about this podcast. Like it's how to innovate.
And you know what it is? It's the process. As human beings, the process is more important than the destination.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, like you ever hear like Tyson Fury, the heavyweight boxer, he used to always say like, whenever he was training for a fight was when he was his happiest, and then he would get insanely depressed after he would win the championship.
Like morbidly obese. He was like,
because he said he didn't know what to do. He attained it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird how as humans the process is what is the most fulfilling thing.
Well, like, I think people they fixate on I think linearly. Like I think I'm very linear, like A to Z. So a lot of people forget that there's like this B to Y in between, right? So I'm always, but many other people too, I'll speak from the aperture, always look at Z. Like I want to do this. Like this is what I want to get to.
Right.
And I like, there's random marks along the way, but I always forget, like I have to take a first step, and I have to take a second step, and then a third step, and it's not going to be that instant gratification. You don't have to chart the Z out. You have no idea. Whatever you think Z is going to be, it's not going to be that. And you just got to take the step. That's a struggle I'm going through in my life. Is like in my future, what is that next step going to be? Jumping off that point and saying, I'm just going to take the step, then I'm going to take another step, and then another step, and another step, and I'm going to hit a million roadblocks, and I'm going to hit all these things.
It's going to be this. It's never just going to be like a straight line. It's going to be.
And you know, and by the and I firmly believe, like in life. I mean, this is something that I've learned from my father, my grandfather. There's only two ways things goes, right? It's like it's up or down. There's really no one ever really stays the same. So I feel like if you're not taking that step you want to take, you're probably going down. You might feel like you're just waiting, but you're actually probably taking steps back in your life.
Like you're saying, like if you're not getting better, you're saying and you're saying if you're not getting better, you're probably getting worse. You're most likely not just staying the same.
No,
like
no one stays the same.
Well, like, staying the same is getting worse.
Exactly.
Right. It's the comfort is
the goal is to be. For me, the goal was to be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today.
Right.
Yeah. That's my mindset right now.
All this conversation just reminded me of the fourth agreement finally, which is I finally remembered it, which is always do your best. And I think one of the as we talk about grit and hard work and day-to-day stuff, right? The reminder for me from that chapter was your best changes. So don't get so hard on yourself. Always do your best. Do your best. Your best is going to be different when you're sober versus when you're drunk. Your best is going to be different when you're healthy versus when you're sick. Your best is going to be, when you have no responsibilities versus when you have children at home and bills to pay and things of that nature. Doesn't mean that you can't always do your best. Your best will change, but doing your best will never change. Therefore, by doing your best and giving it your all the time, you don't have to worry about the same meter you were at yesterday.
Right.
But if you continue to put that in, you're eliminating doubt. You're eliminating fear. You're eliminating guilt. You're eliminating wonder and wishing and curiosity as to if I did X, would Y have happened, right? It's like all of that is wasted energy and wasted time.
And this is important to say. This is very important. For some people who struggle with mental health, because I'm telling you right now, as someone who I've had battles with anxiety, I've had a ton of battles with depression, personal things in my life, whatever. Sometimes your best is getting through that day.
100%.
You might not get one thing done, but if literally that's how desperate it is for some people out there. Yeah. Like, there's I think
we've all been there at some point.
Sometimes that's your best, and you might feel like, oh fuck, man, like I didn't get shit done today. Like I kind of just sat around, but that's not necessarily true. You might have learned some things by sitting there with your own thoughts. That's one thing I learned. You might have learned something just sitting there and thinking through things, and like you said, having those feelings of, I feel depressed right now. Feel it.
Yes.
Feel it. Don't that's what I'm trying to do right now. Not just grab my phone and get that instant gratification of, taking my mind off it by scrolling through everything and just sit with those emotions a little bit.
I think it's important what you just did though. You took we're talking about a lot of macro issues, right?
Yes.
They're very highly theoretical. I think it's why some people don't get
yeah, because it's like, okay, but what do I do right now?
Right. They don't get engaged by like a Tony Robbins, right? Or they don't get a Gary Vaynerchuk or one of these dudes, right? Gary V. Like they're like, oh, it sounds really nice, but I can't really put it in the context of my life because 99.999% of people like they just live the normal life. Like it's not as crazy or as dramatic as sometimes it is on social media and things like that. So what you just did is you just put in a real context. Like what really happens is every day, some people just wake up, they have a job they don't like. They're not really engaged or enthused by it.
Right.
They feel a little depressed. They probably have like a lot of responsibilities. They might have bills to pay. They might have all these things. And getting through the day and just starting on the day,
it's a win.
It's a win for some people, but that makes it really real, right? Like a lot of the things that someone listen, there will be people listening to this podcast and hear the things we say, hear what you guys say every week, and they just can't put it into context. Like whenever you hear these things, just try and put them in the context of your own life. Like I said, we've all said it. No matter who you are, you're going through some shit. Nothing is perfect. I don't care how many privileges or resources you have. That shit can go away, and I guarantee you're going through something yourself, right? There's no one who's like this ironclad, perfect ball of emotions. It's, there might be people, and anyone who says they are, by the way, isn't. I mean, those are the people that usually have so many
even more.
They have a lot of subconscious issues. So I don't know. I think it's important what you just did. Like you just you make it very real for people. Like we're all going through shit.
And like Gary, like you were saying, Gary V and Tony Robbins and all them. A lot of times they talk about these big things, right? And they, and like you were saying, people can't really figure out how to put that into their life because 90%, a lot of life, almost all of it, is those boring tasks that you have to do every day that are repetitive. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, whatever. Like, it's those same tasks every day that you do. Most of life is boring, honestly.
I mean, life is a bit monotonous. It's cumbersome. It is, but you can't, once again, these guys, like, I don't, Tony Robbins, Gary, a lot of people talk about Z, right? It's like what you just talked about was an A thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's the front of the line. Like just get through the day. Yeah. Then maybe B is make your bed, clean the house, and by the way, like I'm not at A every day. You know what I mean? Like I don't always do those things. So it's like no matter and I'm just saying for me, it's speaking from the I perspective. You just have to bring it into your own context.
And guess what? You might gain something from just sitting there and having kind of like a self-care day of like tomorrow you might wake up and feel 1,000% more refreshed by having that day for yourself of kind of, and then you hit the ground running the next day. You know what I mean?
We'll close it off on this a little bit. So you got to get to A to get to B to get to C. It's the compound effect. When I did read years ago, it's the one book I did read was a compound effect. I read a little bit about that, and it's like doing the little things every day. You know what I mean? It just adds to something bigger. But
well, I will say real quick before we end that another thing, just this tying it up, is that another thing I learned is how much you want is in reality is dependent upon how willing you are to not have it, right? So let's say I want a relationship, I really want to fall in love and whatever. I'll get that when it's the moment where I am so in love with being okay with being by myself and making myself laugh and having fun and stuff like that, right?
That's man.
In order to be, and again, I'm not a guy who is a wealthy person, so I'm on the journey like anybody else.
Philosopher Nick
but
right here. You just put my brain in a blender.
If you want to be really, really successful, then how willing are you to live under your means? What do you really need?
Yeah.
What do you really need? We use the word need. So, and again, I mean, I'm a contradiction, right? I don't probably need half the shit I brought with me today. But what do we really need, right? People always say, oh, I'm starving. I need blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. No, you're not, right? So it's really figure out that if you want to get something, how willing are you, how okay are you without it, right? So, for instance, like I thought when I was younger and I was all down bad that, one day I'll work hard, I'll get abs and then I'll just, bitches will be flying, right? And then next thing you know, you got abs and you're single as hell, right? And you're like, well, that wasn't true. And I'm sure it's like, it's the same thing when you buy that car finally, when you buy that watch, or when you get to that destination, it's like, oh, well, I mean, now it's next? Like, now, right. I want those pairs of jeans now. It's like, so it's just this constant thing. So I think, again, we're talking about A to B. One thing that's, you know, I try to keep in mind is just to every single day is acknowledge when I'm not being a good friend to myself and try to be a better friend to myself. Make myself happier. Try to make myself laugh. Have fun. Laugh at my flaws, you know? Laugh at, like, if I'm in the car and I'm singing and my voice cracks, I'm cracking up, bro. I'm like, I'm a fucking idiot, dude. Like, you know, it's like being open like that, that energy, that is going to bring you what you would like out of life. It's also going to weed out the things that you think you need that you really don't need.
I mean, that's just contagious, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, the one thing that I guess they can get from this is, like, smile, love. You know, it's not as hard as
be rich with love.
Be rich with love.
Check on your friends.
Said, check on your friends too. I mean,
ask them how they are. Don't say how you are as a form of hello. How are you?
Just try to cultivate that energy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, one thing, like, I haven't done this personally. I'm not going to lie and say I have, but I want to actually do it soon. Like, my brother was saying to me, like, he was in the Dunkin' Donuts line and someone in front of him bought him his coffee.
It's awesome.
Like, I think that's the coolest thing in the world. You know what I mean? You don't know the person. Like, how cool is that?
It goes a long way, bro.
Yeah, like,
you know, and
like you said earlier, feels better to give.
Listen, it's all about paying it forward.
Exactly.
And it's some people, it's through the charity work that you're doing. It might, like, just sharing your experience, like, you're, you know, like what you brought up today, it pays it forward. You don't realize the way you're going to impact people, but it always just comes down to just being like staying true to your core values.
Exactly what I was about to say. Stick to your core values. Know what you're worth. Know what you want. And at the end of the day, people will revolve around that, and it'll weave out.
Build that character, man.
It'll weave out who's not supposed to be in it. And also, too, I mean, we can sum up our conversation with this phrase too. The only way to get over it is to go through it. You know, so acknowledge that you're feeling that shit, and you know, and you'll be fine, because if you're there, if you can make it just through the day, you know, then that's a win, you know, especially if you're going through that stuff. But
I will say for 2 seconds that if you're listening to this and you're like, damn, I might be in an environment where, like, I really want to have types of conversations like this what these guys are having, but, like, it's not really, I don't really know how to do that with my group or my family or anything like that. Hit us up.
Reach
talk
out
to any of us and listen. You know, if you guys are up to it, I don't know. I know you probably feel the same way. I would love to have both of you guys on again.
Anytime.
I really
I'm
would.
down.
It's a pleasure being here and being in this.
I could have went on
anything for Mama Trish.
Yeah, I could be here till tomorrow morning talking. Listen, anyone who ever wants to come on here, the way, like, talk about the way he did it. He kind of just hit you up right and said, "Listen,
made a post and
you made the post." Anybody, we'll have anybody.
I was the Uber driver. I just got out of the car. I was like,
I don't have a car.
We want to start doing more of that, right? Where you're going to start putting stuff out there, saying if you have a story or if you want to come talk about some cool shit.
I mean, it's on the website at the fallforwardmedia.shop. So it's on the website. You scroll all the way down, and there's a little form you can fill out. You send us. It'll go directly to me, and I'll see it. And man, this was fucking good, man.
This was awesome.
Appreciate you guys.
This is what I needed on a Sunday, bro.
Me too. I really appreciate you guys coming.
No problem.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. Like, we had, like, basically our twins. Like, me and Austin are the same, and you two can go on for days about this stuff. Like, just like such good tangible shit. And that's the goal of this podcast, man. It's like, we want to have good stories, have people come on, like last week with the girl from Kensington, and then we would have people like you guys.
Story.
And I knew. That's why I said, he asked me, he was like, "Oh, what's next story? What's he up? You know, what's his thing?" And I'm like, "This dude knows what the fuck he's talking about." I said, "He's a wise ass kid, and he knows exactly what he wants, and he's passionate." And then
people are energy, man. People are energy. You feed off them. If it's negative, you'll get it, and if it's positive,
and hey, it led me back to another reunion with Austin. I haven't seen him in a minute.
I mean, I think to be selfish, like, you know, one, I'm just figuring it out like anybody else. I appreciate you saying that, you know, and definitely hit me up if you ever want to talk about stuff. I love hearing people's stories, just, you know, just being a light, if I can be a light in someone's life. But selfishly, you know, it's cool to sit here with you guys and think, you know, just when we were younger and we were those kids, and it's funny because we're explaining what we were feeling then, but we weren't telling each other.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I hope younger kids watch this right now.
That's what I hope
see us for, and, you know.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this too. The whole brand, the whole, you know, Fall Forward Media. Like, it's just like, it's encouraging the conversation. I say it every day. Like, just, you know, I'll be at Patty's, and I'll have some random guy before I even start playing. And he was like, "Oh, you had you know, James Reedy on, the interventionist guy from Roanhurst," and he was like, "Oh yeah, man." And the guy started talking about his alcoholic dad and stuff, and like, it's just like, you know, just this little shit like that, like people opening up and, like, you know, realizing it's okay to open up, and I appreciate you guys for sharing everything that you guys have said, like, crazy.
If I can finish with one thing, it's,
go ahead, bro.
Be a pig for your friends. Go to your friends.
That was one of the best
your true friends.
That was dope, man.
Go to them. Lay yourself out there, like, give them what they need. Like, don't be the person that goes, drops an egg, gives them like a very short-term thing, and then runs away, because we're all guilty of it. I've been the chicken for many people in my life. I've just been very privileged to have a lot of pigs around me. And by the way, usually it's your family are the most immediate things, but like try and find those people in your life. It doesn't have to be a lot of them. I am the first person to I keep a small network. I don't have tons of secondary, tertiary friends that I associate with. It's just not who I am. I like having the small network of people that I know. I'd rather have 10 friends that I can pick the phone up, call, and or family members that I can call and know that they would literally give me anything off their back. Yeah. Like anything. And then they know as well that I'll do it for them, and I'll give it to them too. That a bunch of people who, they might come, they might not. It just depends on what's up within their little world. So try and find those people. Usually when you find those people, they open doors for you, and they pull you through those doors too.
And hold on to them people for that. Cherish that. Yeah. And don't ever let it go, because like you just said, it's hard to find it.
Yeah.
When you find that, man, keep it.
Yeah, whether it's a girl, whether it's your family. Look, I have an amazing girlfriend, 6.5 years. Like,
shout out Jenny.
Yeah, shout out Jenny. You know, it's someone who's a pig for me. You know, so you have to, you got to find those people. And I appreciate you guys. You know, obviously I was the tag along, but I appreciate you guys having me.
You contributed a shitload.
I appreciate you guys. You guys are doing something, especially like I said, and I gotta bring this up, like for young men. Like, it's not a comfortable thing as someone who's a young man who has a lot of expectations to be open with their emotions and like these conversations. Like, I just think most of my guy friends just like wouldn't talk about this shit. They just, I mean, they want to talk about it. They hold it to they hold it to themselves, but it's just not the thing. I mean, look, I was in a fraternity with 100 dudes. It was about as like masculine as like crazy as it gets. These conversations weren't happening in the open. They were happening behind closed doors. It's just really cool that you guys take the step to actually like get them out there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
That means a lot.
Don't wait till you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it now.
Reach out, and that's that's the number one thing that when I ask addicts and people who are going through it, like, what's your advice to people? Reach out. You know what I mean? Like, ask for help. Because you'll get it. And energy, it is so contagious.
People care more than you think.
I'll be that person. You know, FaceTime, talk.
Yeah, bro. So,
but thank you guys.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll have you back for sure.
This was dope, dude.
Thanks, boys.
This was good, man. So yeah, this is episode 18 of the Loft. Kev Nichols, that's User, that's Austin Levin, and that's Nick Rose. And peace, guys.
Peace.
That was dope, bro. Good job, boys.
That was awesome. Great,
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.